Hello, and welcome to the REL 6 and REL 7 Div Preview Week 5. So this week we're going to take a look at all of the teams. We did some match review last week, so we're going to be taking a ideally quick look at all the teams, but knowing us, it will not be quick. And, you know, results and all that kind of good stuff. So I hope you guys are ready, because I'm ready.
The only, I guess, noteworthy thing is on Sunday, I will be playing Viking Cup in the 1 minute finals. I'm not sure how my worthless chaos have gotten this far.
You're a tryhard.
I am. Like, I feel like the chaos theme I picked wasn't as punishing as some. Like, it was kind of... It was, like, lower than average and, like, certainly way off some people. But, like, when I look at the playoffs, I feel like a lot of other teams are worse. Like, I'm about to go down, face down a bunch of
and that's at 1 p.m. my time, so it's 5 p.m. UTC. And I believe I can cast that.
Yeah.
My clan game is later that day as well. So there'll be some streaming from me on the coming Sunday with some 1 minute finals and some clan stuff.
Well, hopefully I dice Viking Cup into the ground like I did to Gerber. And then
I lost to Viking Cup in the 1 minute playoffs by we went to overtime, and then he won the coin flip, and I had like 5 KOs and all 5 of them stayed out going into overtime. And then he won the coin flip, and I was like, well, that's the game. Like, not much I can do about that.
I played Gerber, and like I have Claw on a bunch of players, which is relevant against Kislev. But I think I removed something. I think I cast 3 players in like 3 turns. Like I just crushed him completely on the dice. He also was playing no reroll Kislev, so like he kept failing 2 pluses. Dear. So it was just a disaster.
Well,
yeah.
Do we want to look at REL 6?
No, because the first result is already a disappointment.
Not for me. So there's a couple games that haven't been played apparently, but not much we can do about that.
Worth noting, one of them is the Rumblebee game where we divided and conquered. So like clearly someone had to be right, but then they just decided
disappointment all around.
So, Rumblebee finds new and exciting ways to disappoint.
I feel like you shouldn't expect Rumblebee to not disappoint you. I think it's like second nature to him. So in the first match we had with REBBL and Greenskin Brawlers, you had predicted the Undead and I had predicted the Orcs, and I win because the Greenskin Brawlers take this one 1-0. MVPs on reasonable players, but no levels from that. Let's see.
Oh yeah, it is a blitzer, not an alignment. All Orcs look
racist.
I knew. Looks like about even punching, but okay, so the Orcs got 7 breaks and the Undead got 7 breaks. The Undead got 2 KOs, which is it's a little low, but it's about what you expect. On 7 breaks, the Orcs got 2 KOs, 3 injuries, and a kill. Oh, it's already included, so 2 KOs and 3.
Yep, injury dice doing a thing for the Orcs there. And, you know, that Orcs, you know, they can play for a removal game, certainly, but they don't need to. But when the removal game goes their way, then it becomes way easier for them. It's really nice as an Orc player to have the removals occur.
Yeah, I mean, both teams actually had nearly 80% armor rolls, but like when the Undead armor broke.
Oh, so if Rumble's playing now, perhaps we'll come back at the end of this to see if that is finished, so that we can check on the scores. Damn Rumblebee.
I predict a tie so that neither of us get points.
Well, I mean, he's playing his current game that was already predicted right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I see.
It'll probably be a tie.
Then we had the First and Forsaken Lions versus the Boss Hog Outlaws. This is High Elf versus Chorf. We both expected that the Chorfs would take this, and it looks like they did. And boy, howdy, did they. Although the Chorfs sustained a death and a casualty, however, the High Elves sustained 5 casualties, a death, and 2 KOs.
Yep, and MVP went to their dead linemen, so they didn't even get the 5 SPP.
No, this is more or less how we expected this game to go.
High Elves not having a good season. In fact, 7 of the SPP went to 7 Laughing Winters, the dead linemen.
This is more or less how we expected this game to go, though. We assumed that the Chorfs were just gonna like walk all over the field with the High Elves, and they kind of did.
Well, yeah, the High Elves got totally battered last week by another Chorf team. So this is the second Chorfening in 2 weeks, and they started.
I'm about to go into my stretch of REL games right now were Chorfs Lizards, which, you know, neither of those teams are teams I like to play against. I mean, to be fair, I'm probably favored against Lizards at this point. I just don't like playing Lizards, and that's my chunk of games in a row. So I feel for the Elves.
You still only have one claw
three
player, right?
now.
Okay, yeah, at 3, I'd say you're probably favored against Lizards. It's like the rando Kazes at that point are a big deal.
I had 2 until my last game, and now I have a third one. Anyway, then we had 3 cash, 3 crew, the Revengening, and another Bloody Bell, who I keep saying another Bloody Ball for some reason, even though it's very clearly an E. So humans versus rats, we both predicted that the humans would win this, and the humans took this one 1-0. So let's see. The Skaven outblocked the humans very strongly, but I feel like with this type of human team, they don't really care because they're essentially just elves with how many stat ups there are on this team.
Yep, pretty much.
3 casualties sustained.
Kind of surprised though, like JJ Cash's human teams should be punchier than these rats. Maybe they were doing a bit of basing to try to pressure the rats, and the rats were kind of desperately pushing them off each turn. But not really
well, the humans sustained 3 casualties, so there was some damage that existed. But the rats did sustain a death and 2 casualties. So, I mean, even in terms of strict casualties, but one of them was a death rather than an injury.
Yeah, it looks like the rats were probably doing some fouling. Or maybe
these ball possession numbers indicate to me that the ball's on the floor a lot of the time, which is probably pretty interesting to see with these rats and these humans. But the humans take it 1-0 over the rats, so presumably they just managed to defend it, or defend against the rat sort of offensive drive, and then kind of did what they wanted for the rest of the game. But I feel like this was surprisingly close. Based on the 1-0 between these two teams and like the ball possession numbers and the blocks and stuff. I think this was probably a close 1-0. MVP going to a catcher and leveling him, so we'll see what he gets later. Common Nightmares and Starry Fight, well, we don't know. Apparently that game is currently going on, right? You predicted the Necro and I predicted the Dwarves, but we won't see the results of that until later.
Indeed. I'm sure that'll be exciting.
I'm sure it will be. Wood Elves versus Lizards. We both predicted Wood Elves and they lost 2-0.
Yep, did they ever. 15 armor breaks. 3 KOs, 2 injuries. We thought that the Lizards had no tackle.
Yeah, and they didn't have very much block either.
And no real way, and not even much in the way of like Mighty Blow or damage skills. So we were like, this should be a pretty easy game for the Wood Elves. And they also had no sure hands. So I'm
50 blocks succeeded by the Lizards, like 3 KO.
That's a lot of blocks to be sustaining as Wood Elves. That indicates to me that there might have been.
Yeah, that seems like way too many blocks for the Wood Elves to take. Ideally, as Wood Elves, you kind of end up in that position where maybe you get one block and a blitz against you a turn, like maybe 1 or 2, but it shouldn't be like on the 50 blocks is like a bash versus bash matchup type number of blocks. Like I feel like there shouldn't have been that much hitting going on for the Wood Elves. So that to me explains why this game didn't go the way we expected.
Yeah, maybe try to tie up the Lizards and then took some damage for it. Wasn't even that unlucky in terms of armor. A little bit unlucky in terms of armor. Depending on, I don't think there was any Mighty Blow outside of the Crocs. So sustained 15 breaks, resulting in 5.
Hello? Oh, we lost. I think we lost a Shadorra.
Yeah, I'm back. Weird, I could hear
you. No, you went and stopped talking, and then your camera became a swirly thing of doom, and you stopped making sound. Where were we?
I was talking about how the High Elf or the Wood Elf versus Lizard game was kind of worked, and I think that's just that like they didn't seem to get particularly unlucky in terms of like armor or.
I just think they shouldn't have taken that many blocks.
The Lizards did roll a lot of POWs, but also they just rolled a lot of dice, so I don't even think it was that. Yeah. Going down the block dice results, it looks like there are a hell of a lot of like single POW rolls, so maybe that had.
I mean, I feel
something
like
to
the Wood Elves just shouldn't have taken 50 blocks, regardless of how many power rolls there were.
Yeah, that is certainly true. Yeah, so like looking into anything else is probably meaningless.
Orcsploitation Cinema versus the Wayside Warmongers hasn't been played either, so we can't talk about that either. For what it's worth, we both predicted Das Schuttenheim would take this with Orcsploitation Cinema, but we don't know the results of that. We'll check at the end of the stream to see if that has occurred, because it may be playing now as well. Considering it's Tuesday night and the rollover is tomorrow, I imagine the games are either happening now or very soon. So we'll come check that out later. Then we had the Hausdorff's Homewreckers versus the Scaled Measures. We both predicted Chorfs, and we were both wrong.
Yeah, jeez. Scaled Measures pulling out a surprise win over a team designed
There are so
to
many
kill
Claw
them.
Mighty Blow like piling on Chorfs on this team. It's ridiculous.
And they did work. It can't be said that the Lizards did not get removed. They suffered 9 removals.
10 removals.
No, they suffered 10 removals, in fact. From fouls, probably, for the last one. So they got utterly pitch cleared. And they won 1-0. This, to me, says maybe there was some desperate plays. Chorfs often can struggle to score if you do kind of, like, delay them significantly or, like...
And there may have been... and Skinks being movement 8, you know... Even if you lose all of your Saurus to those Chorfs, you may be able to score with some luck or some dice rolls by just like potatoing with a skink, potentially getting away from all the tackle on the Chorfs. So that may be something that have occurred there. Although it looks like the Scaled Measures had the ball sort of in their possession more often than the Chorfs did. So maybe well played to Scaled Measures despite being so severely out removed.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it as like the Lizards elected to defend first. The Lizards successfully defended while sustaining some damage, or like significant damage. The Lizards then went on offense with reduced numbers, continued to attrition, but managed to like squeak in a score by maybe potatoing, maybe just like getting a lucky like failed roll for the chore, something like that, and then scored.
So after that, if we look at the leaderboard, this is what it currently looks like. We've got Professor Chaos and the Greenskin Brawlers in first with 3-1-0, and the Boss Hog Outlaws and Vulpes and Uculta are 3-0-1 to be at the top of the leaderboards. Let's see, Common Nightmare, Starry Fight, Exploitation Cinema, and the Wayside Warmongers, the ones that haven't played games yet. So the Common Nightmares have the possibility of going up to 2-1-1, which will put them up here in the sort of 4th, 5th tie position with Not Nylok and Randomus Namus. Although the other Rumblebee is currently 1-0-2, so he could be 2-0-2 at the end of this potentially in the sort of 6th position. Philosophical at 0-0-3 currently, so he would need a win here against Schuttenheim to move up. It looks like we're starting to get the separation now that we are into week 5. Couple front runners already with Professor Chaos and Vulpes and Culta. Although you got several people on 2 wins who are within striking distance. Hello, Nemo, my Nemo. Shall we look at teams? We said Warmongers have not played this week yet, so there's probably not a ton of change from the last week. Other than this, we've seen it. This thrower was gross, and now he's grosser because he's strength 5. Just so everyone's aware. Yep.
He is strength 5, agi 4,
dodge.
Movement 7, dodge. Not block. He'll get blocked when he gets hit. Unless he rolls agi. I don't think you take agi at that point. You accept that he's agi.
This man is glorious. That's the funniest thing.
Yeah,
He'll get blocked once he hits legend in 100 SPP. It's normally like the first skill you want on almost every like human player. It's literally going to be his legend skill. Now
he's rolled a 10, 11, 12, doubles 12.
Not a problem.
Easy. Yeah. It's a lot of value in 270k. Turn 1 lightning bolt. Easy game, easy life.
The ogre
honestly, if you roll plus AV, I would take block. There is no skill, I think, at this point that is better than block.
No, I mean, you just really want block. That is, man, I mean, for memes plus AV, just to get all of the stats, but like for goodness, I mean.
I would take plus movement on that player over plus AV. I think he's never gonna get hit. He's strength 5 and armor 8. What are you doing if he's taking?
I don't know, man. Has anybody else leveled recently? Wilson Wonder is very close. He's 1 SPP away with movement, guard, and piling on, or not piling on, jump up. I was gonna say did you consider going the Mighty Blow piling on route with jump up, or do you ignore it because you have guard? What do you think the next skill on him should be? The one who's 1 SPP away.
You don't generally pick up Mighty Blow piling on guard pieces. It is interesting, but he already had a Mighty Blow piling on jump up player. Jump up is just a useful skill to have, and on a movement 8 piece, it's got nice synergy in the sense that you just like can never count this player out. I wouldn't hate a tackle pickup for a second tackle.
Yeah, that might not be bad. I think the common thing that people think when you see jump up on like strength access players is Mighty Blow piling on. But with movement 8, the jump up is more of a movement tool than anything else, right? He just always has movement 8, sort of regardless. And with guard, you can put guard in a lot of places with movement 8, even if he's on the floor.
That said, I think I probably would have taken dodge. I mean, blodge guard has obvious synergies, and well, I don't hate jump up on a movement 8 piece that is just like going to be an ever-present threat. He's Agi 3 still. It doesn't take a lot to just pin him in.
Yeah, I think I'd like tackle on him, and then I'd like Son of William if you ever level him to be another Mighty Blow player, because you currently only have 1, and with 4 strength access players, getting Mighty Blow is kind of good. So I'd like to see another Mighty Blow here somewhere, but maybe not on this blitzer. We've got a couple catchers. One has picked up Agi, which is excellent for a catcher to synergize with this monstrous thrower. You have an elfy catcher.
Yeah, and he can throw pretty much better than most elves.
And then the catcher is as a good receiver, 2+ rerollable. And the other one being Nerves of Steel, 3+ rerollable in any tackle zone. So a couple like really good players, but like that's what this team is like the couple of really good players. So if this thrower ever goes out, this team is going to have a really rough time, and you're relying a lot on that thrower being super good, and sometimes it's hard to get value off the guy that you're trying to protect holding the ball, right? That's like a 270k ball carrier, right? Like so much of your team is invested in that one guy. So other teams might have inducements, or they might have like better spread out SPP over their teams. Like on average their players are better, and you just have one monster. It can be hard to play that way.
For sure. The blitzers are a little undercooked, and also, as Manus pointed out, having your only Mighty Blow be tied into Frenzy is a bit of a liability, simply because when you're making those blitzes, you then have to take into account Frenzy traps, and it makes it a lot more complicated. So it would be nice to have kind of, I don't hate actually his suggestion to have turned the movement 8 into the Frenzy piece to kind of have an ever-present surfing threat, while also like keeping the killer up your killer, so that you commit him to kind of early blitzes in your offensive
skill measures and not Nylok. This is the stupid stat lizard team, but now they're becoming the injured lizard team after that game against Chorfs.
Oh man, they had a ton of niggles and they got chorfed. So okay, so the strength 5 is only MNG'd. How about the skink? The skink is Agi busted, so he's dead. And the other one is it niggle? Nope, just MNG'd. But the Agi bust is obviously dead. No reason to keep a 100k Agi.
And then there's a lot of injuries lying around this team in general. Like this team is so weak against Claw now with the number of niggles that are going around. But it's so hard to be upset with the number of stats that exist. This team is insane. Like that's a niggled Croxagore. That's a strength 1 skink, but he's movement 9. Like he
You just never field him unless.
Well, as of now, you're going to have to, because you have 3 out for the next game and no bench. But it might be worth, since you're already so high TV with all the stat ups you have, just embracing the TV bloat and picking up a couple extra skinks so that you can guarantee not to field the one turner.
I would be extremely hesitant to spend too much money, simply because you're going into your next game down one of your best players, one of your better players, and I would never drop to below 80k gold.
I wouldn't do it now. I mean,
like,
if he survives his next game and is still has, assuming he plays his next game and has all 11 of these players, he's going to need to field that strength 1 skink still. So you might want to bench it.
Yeah, I mean, I'd buy one this game because you have 200k, so you might as well. You're going to need a bench anyway. But then
and then another skink who is just MNG'd, I think. Yeah, and then. This is at least the Edgy 5 block sprint skink is okay because he's a monster. Then the Edgy 2 skink who is dead. He's probably not worth having, as you mentioned. Miss next game, and then some good Saurus, but both Dromedae, Sauridae, or he's are injured. He's armor busted, and then yellow is niggled. So there's a couple niggles lying around on this team, which is scary. But oh man, so many stats. Yeah, the next game is probably the game that you'd want to play these lizards. They'll be missing one of their strength Saurus, so they'll have more skinks than expected. And because of all of this ridiculous stat increase, they're probably not going to be too far behind you in TV anyway, so they're not likely to replace him with Slibbly. And then the team that did that to not Nylock is the Hausdorff's Homewreckers and Randomus Namus, and you can probably see how that did it with the number of there's 2 Claw Mighty Blow piling on players on this team. Although he has not he's suffered some injuries himself, but most of them have been agi busts on Chorfs, and who cares? The movement 3 is annoying, but we've talked about that in previous weeks. How the stand firm kind of mitigates that. Is there anything new here looking?
I think the Bull Centaur stand firm is new. I don't hate it. I don't hate it on Blodge. Kind of gives him a utility role outside of ball carrying. Would I have taken it over guard? You're not really hurting for guard as you have.
Are you saying he has enough guard
pieces? So I'm saying I don't hate it.
I mean,
I probably
guard on Bull Centaurs is less good than guard on like the Chorf blockers and stuff, because I mean it's mobile certainly, and that's nice, but also a lot, especially when you're using a Bull Centaur ball carrier, guard on your ball carrier is not really that useful because you don't want to be basing people with him. And then the other, if you're doing that, the other one is probably blitzing a lot, and then blitzing with guard doesn't help either. So that's probably the inclination.
having guard on your higher strength pieces, especially ones with like survivability skills like is very strong. Simply because like it's much harder to dislodge them, which is always going to be the goal when you're hitting when you're looking at a line of guard.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fine either way. If you're I'm just saying, like, if you're ball carrying on a Bull Centaur, you're probably blitzing with the other, and then guard isn't really helpful unless you're on defense. And the stand firm is sort of useful on both offense and defense, because you have the stand firm blodge, which is super annoying on defense, and then on offense you're not really as afraid to sideline cage with if you have to.
Yeah, I see why he did it in general. Not even just sideline cages. It's often beneficial to stand firm when someone is blitzing you, because they will try to pin you or whatever to make the dodges harder. So it makes sense. I see why you got it. I'm not sure I would have taken it.
I would definitely go guard if you carried on Hobgoblins, but since he's very clearly carrying on a Bull Centaur, I think it's fine to skip it on these two players, because it's not going to get as much use as... Like, I'm not saying guard is bad. Guard would be good. It's just it's not going to get as much use as some other skills would. Picked up. I think that's a new dirty player as well, because he's just at 6 SPP. So another dirty player. When you're ball carrying on Bull Centaurs, Hobgoblin's jobs are to pray for doubles for guard and to dirty player things, and he's gotten all of those things so far. Maybe a kick at some point.
It's a damn scary looking team. And then we have Orcs. They have a new lineman.
It's the one that doesn't have a million skills. Or Shadorra is a whiner. Oh, because did he get rid of the sneaky get dirty player?
Oh, is that why? I mean, I'm just a whiner in general, so I just was like, oh, that's a dig. Which is
I think it's the sneaky get dirty player is gone.
It is. I think it is the sneaky get dirty player piece. I'm not sad, and I hope Shadorra is a whiner, rolls plus strength twice, so you have to keep him
let's see, do we have anything new? Is the tackle on Leark Neeson new?
It's pretty new, given that he's at 79.
But yeah, that's a strength 5. Like that's a. I was about to say budget war dancer, but it's not really. I mean, he's.
It's definitely in no way a budget war dancer.
He's doing this.
How the fuck is this a war dancer,
I was gonna say
Ben?
it's the same role, right? He's cage diving, but instead of leaping, he's muscling his way in and strip balling, tackling stuff.
Look, I know weed is legal.
You're also in Canada. I still actually haven't been to an NSLC since that happened because I just.
Oh, are they selling it at NSLCs?
Yep,
in Canada?
at specific
or in,
ones.
Nova
Yeah,
Scotia?
it's like there's a couple locations that do it, but it's just part of the regular liquor store.
Oh, Quebec has an entirely separate store with its own acronym that I can never remember.
No, it's just at NSLCs, but I haven't actually been to them because I always go to like the independent beer store nearby.
SQDC.
SQDC
Sexy,
is like
right?
SAC.
Société Québécoise du
There's
Cannabis.
also
Du Cannabis.
and then there's SAC as well, right? Yeah.
The SAQ, yes. Société d'Alcool du Québec.
Nova Scotia Liquor Commission or Corporation, whichever. I think it was Commission and they changed it to Corporation or something like that. Or the other way around.
Because it's a semi-private company.
Anyway, irrelevant. Yes, so let's see. New thing. Demi Mork is still a great thrower with Edgy 5, but nothing has changed really there. Yeah, just Canadian things. I think the tackle is probably pretty new on Leork Neeson, who's a monster. Jesse Renthruya is a player that anybody who has seen this team before is probably well aware of, being due to the fact that he often runs through opposing players. Piling on Muddy Blow tackle, also with the Frenzy Stand Firm Surf threat available. Michael Chorfs is probably the most underdeveloped here. He'd like to get guard so that we have the full complement of block guard Black Orcs, but very much the nature of Black Orcs on Orc teams to have 2 developed and then other 2 sort of behind, whether if one dies they get really far behind, or cycling Black Orcs, that sort of thing. You'd love to have a full complement of block guard Mighty Blow Stand Firm, but very few Orc teams are actually going to have all 4 at once.
Yep, they're taking the hits, so they do face some attrition. Though, yeah, this is a damn fine-looking Orc team. It's picked up a lot of guard and Black Orc development in general since we started the season, and
I'm glad I played this last season rather than now.
So it also has only has Mighty Blow on a Frenzy piece in terms of like mobile.
He's got Mighty Blow on Black Orcs, but they're much slower.
I did use the word mobile.
I didn't know that Civ announced a Canadian Civ today, but if
it did, and it's the most like fucking stereotypical shit ever. Their special building is this right now. I mean, it's got a video, and it's outstanding.
Right. I'm gonna have to. I didn't see it. I'm gonna have to go watch that, and I will also buy that DLC when it comes out.
It's Wilford Laurier, and it's just like, I've
been considering getting Civ for Switch just so I can like have it around when I'm doing stuff, but.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's actually a good pickup. I should get it simply because Tristan loves to play that game a lot, so it would be good for the trips, especially because she's going to California in a few weeks, and I'm not going, so she'll
yeah, it's so good for that, just like playing random stuff, and the fact that you can play like reasonable games, like Civ 6 on it is really nice.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was traveling between Halifax and New Orleans last New Year's, and just was like, I'm in the airport, I'll download the XCOM Mario game. Rabbids, and then just like played the shit.
I've been playing a bunch of Odyssey. Anyway, Wood United, Luke 444.
We're really distractible.
They took 50 blocks in their last game, but that's only resulted in one player being out for the next one, which is the guard movement block lineman. So it's a good piece, but it's not a critical piece.
Yep, it looks like Windsurfer has picked up Agi, which is a huge improvement, obviously, to any War Dancer. Makes those
any stats on War Dancers are incredible, really.
For sure, but like plus Agi is really where plus Agi or plus Strength, debatably, are like where you can start to unlock.
For sure, like things. Super reliable leaps.
Agi 5 can not only 2+ into the
2+
cage,
out of the
can
cage.
often exactly. If the ball lands in a decent place, they can like 3+ pick up, 3+ cage dive out to get out of the cage, and it's not uncommon to see a Agi 5 War Dancer just jump in, steal your
Yeah,
ball.
both
and,
Agi
run
and
space.
strength on War Dancers make them ludicrous. And I mean, it's sort of the nature of any player that starts with the reliability skills, like block and dodge. Just getting stats makes them so much better because they already have those things. It's the sort of opposite of, you know, like vampires. They have a great stat line, but no reliability skills. And once you get them, they're much better, but you need to get them. And the stats on War Dancers, oh man, so good. We got anything else new lying around? I think the grab and movement are both, well, the movement we already knew about. I think the grab isn't new on the tree. So I don't think there's any crazy new skills here, but it's certainly a good team. Those two annoying catchers with Blodge Step. There's another one with Blodge Step Guard Movement is even more annoying. A couple Agi pieces. The one guard on the team being out for the next game is really unfortunate, but at least you have the it's two. Sorry, yeah.
He's got the punch as well.
Still, 2 is better than 1, and so being down 1 for the next game is a little unfortunate, but at least he's not gone.
I think the movement on Wick is new, and I don't love it. I mean, picking up movement on linemen is always kind of sketchy. I know this is a good lineman piece, but like, is movement really going to provide you more value in this case than dodge would have? I really think dodge was the pick here. Blodge, guard, linemen are so
I'd probably
valuable.
take dodge as well. I mean, maybe if they were a slow team and then movement, because movement makes such a big difference. Like, there's a massive difference between like movement 4, movement 5, movement 5, and movement 6. The difference between movement 7 and movement 8 is less critical.
Yeah. Vulpus, you after a certain point, I would also consider just recycling War Dancers if they never rolled a double and you had another.
As long as you have one that's capable of doing the like strip ball nonsense, it's okay to recycle the other one. It turns out they're like the best player in the game as a rookie. Like, it's
not hard to level rookie War Dancers. Is perhaps, you know, and
it's also Blodge, Leap, Agi 4 turns out is really good as a rookie, so they're not too hard to like recycle and fish for stats if you really want to. But Wood Elves are often in the position where they need to they're low on money because they need to keep buying players, so sometimes that can be hard. But if you have the option, it's a good thing to do.
And then we have Common Nightmares by Harry Koo, who have just recycled a werewolf. Well, not recycled.
Yeah, because they haven't played yet this. They haven't played yet this week, so there might not be. Yeah, there might not much to be look at right now. So they're currently playing without that ball carrying ghoul, which is certainly unfortunate.
Yeah, there's not a lot to say about this team. It should struggle mightily against the dwarves that they're facing, but Rumblebee.
This has just become the shit on Rumblebee show, and I think I'm okay with that.
That's what our weekly recap is actually called. We don't have a snazzy name like the Punchman Report. We're just the shit on Rumblebee.
Welcome to the hour of making fun of Rumblebee. I hope you enjoy. Let's see. Anybody getting close that we can talk about? Well, the Blodge Tackle Werewolf isn't too far off. I mean, at that point, you sort of really, really pray for like Mighty Blow or something, because you're running out of useful things.
Where the other one is not developed, I would probably take Sidestep and keep him around, but in an Eternal League, you really want to look to recycle werewolves after 3-4.
Yeah, well, the first one is going to level certainly first, so you can see if he gets anything good, and then decide from there.
I wouldn't sack being attacked until Chase Through the Night.
No, me either.
These two skills. He's currently your only tackle for.
It's he's likely gonna. But you can probably see what the level on Chase Through the Night is going to be. Maybe even the second one before you get being attacked anyway. So you can kind of decide or inform your next skill on being attacked based on what Chase Through the Night rolls, right? If Chase Through the Night, gets Mighty Blow, you don't need to worry about like praying for it on being attacked, for example, and you can just focus on like sidestep, whatever, like you said. Let's see.
Yep. It's a solid team. It's kind of underdeveloped for the division, but it's looking fine. It's got 3 guard already, which is nice. It's got the Blodge Flesh Golem, who has unfortunately eaten a movement bust, but it's not a huge. I mean, it's bad, but it's not something I would fire.
I definitely would not fire him over that. It's annoying, but it's not worth getting rid of. So it's we'll see what he gets out of this game. This team might look very different in about an hour, so we might have to come back and look. 3 cash, 3 crew, Revengeing. 17. Now we can see this team. Speaking of stat humans.
Oof, he took an... That's a bad injury. Minus movement on your plus agi, mighty blow, tackle guard piece is
no, that's unfortunate.
That's not a fun injury to eat. It's probably the only one that isn't an immediate firing for the player. You might keep a
yeah, I'd probably keep a niggle on him, but like armor bust is bad, agi bust is definitely firing, strength bust is definitely firing. So it could have been worse, but that's certainly unfortunate. I think that catcher's been armor busted for a bit, so there's nothing new there. Movement busted rookie lineman. I mean, there's no reason really to have him around.
No, LOS fodder. You need someone to throw on.
That's certainly true. I mean, you can keep him until he dies, but...
As he currently has one undeveloped lineman. I mean, I would probably fire him and recycle simply because for the next game you're going to need the rookies to put on the line.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's see, how many players does he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, yeah, you'll have 0 bench for next round. So I would fire him and buy a new one, just so you have A, a rookie to be on the line, and B, actually have a bench, because otherwise you won't have anything. Let's see, anything else that looks new? The kick lineman is about to level, although he's kick, so you don't really need him to level or want much out of him. You can go dirty.
Glover is almost a legend, 152 out of 176.
He's block, dodge, sidestep, plus agi, diving tackle, tackle. The plus agi and the blodge makes him pretty serious on offense, and then on defense, the diving tackle, sidestep is incredibly annoying for people to remove that marked player. It's a really good one.
I'm surprised a player that like hugs other players as a job at strength 2 is almost legend. It's a lucky guy. And yeah, Poker Chip Smits is just role playing as a tabletop
it's fine.
Catcher. So.
It all works. And then of course we have Scooter Jackpot Jax, who is a monstrous thrower at Agi 5. He's also got Leap. That's new. The Leap is a new thing.
I don't love Leap on an Agi 5 piece. You don't really need Leap when you're Agi 5 Blodge, I feel. And you're not going to be sacking with him, probably.
You can now. You have the option.
You can do whatever you want.
Plus, you can see the animation, which is pretty great.
But, it's true. I wonder what the human blitzer Leap animation.
I don't know, but that's wonderful. I love this too.
What I've learned about Leap animations on non-standard Leap players is that they suck. They usually just kind of like hop a little bit.
It's not great. But that's interesting. I'm surprised by that Leap. Sidestep might have been a better choice on doubles there.
No, it's a natural strength access player, and if I have to scream about stand firm being better than sidestep one more time, I might have a hernia.
Fair enough.
You certainly wouldn't take sidestep on as a double on any player that can get it on it.
My only reason for it would really be because he's generally going to be the ball carrier. Like sidestep is if like you can punish mistakes from your opponents, right? Like you can push yourself that one step closer to the end zone if they try to like blitz your scoring threat kind of thing, rather than just stay where you are.
GFI.
No, but I mean, like maybe if you need it, then you don't have to roll a GFI, or you actually put yourself in touchdown range. It might make one turns potentially easier, although you have the sidestepping catchers.
Is that edge case worth the extra?
I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying I don't hate it. The leap is, you could potentially use for ball retrieving as well, as was pointed out in chat.
Sure. I mean, yeah, like. We're no longer talking about leap. We're talking about sidestep versus stand firm. So, but yeah, either way, it's an interesting piece, and it's an incredibly annoying one because if he's not down and out of range, there's nothing you can really do to be safe.
And then too big to fail has failed, and he is Agi 1, but who cares? He's an ogre.
Yep, he's doing his ogre job. He has guard. You wish he had block, but that's really.
Then we have the First and Forsaken Lions by Arcade Blaze, which got fully chorfed last game.
And the game before that. So he's having a rough time, but he doesn't look too bad for it. He's still got both blitzers. He still orders his players to drive me intentionally insane. He's got two guard, one of which is armor busted. Dodge guard AV bust is tough.
The guard is too valuable on elf teams.
He just loses
The big thing is he still has that ridiculous thrower that exists, so he's not dead, which is incredible because he's like a big part of this team. Both blitzers being alive is important, and one of the blitzers has picked up Agi recently, so he is now Agi 5, which is pretty good.
Fairly reliable for cage dives. That's a 4+ cage dive.
And you know, being an elf, he has natural agility access, so if he really wants to, leap is not off the table next level if you don't roll anything crazy.
Yeah, make him into a pseudo war dancer.
Wouldn't be too bad. An armor 8 war dancer for that matter, which is not insignificant. You know, and then
aren't arm with a movement bust, because I think war dancers are movement 8.
Yes. But I mean, that's the benefit of or that's the thing with high elves, is that they're higher armor but slower, and the 2 blitzer access, and the big thing is strength 3 catchers, which is
strength 3 movement 8
impressive.
Is, well, I mean, as you can see with war dancers, utter filth. But like, yeah, they don't start with blodge.
So we are down to, you can have 4 catchers. We're down to 2, and one of them is very new. But we still have the one developed one with blodge step, and it turns out it's.
Can you have 4 catchers on?
And it turns out that they're very good, but they also eat SPP like crazy. So generally, you see people start without them and try to level the blitzers, and then they'll pick up catchers later.
Well, they're also incredibly expensive at, you know.
Yep, and they eat SPP once you get them, because they're going to be doing a lot of scoring with movement 8 and like catch. So this rookie one will be pretty fast to catch up, I think.
I agree, Sima. I probably would have gone tackle on certainly one of them, if not both. But Strip is looking more reasonable.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple weeks ago, is that the 2, because he had this 2 weeks ago still, that the 2 strip ball is a little weird, especially since there's no tackle anywhere.
I mean, even 1 blodge strip is not usually the order I would recommend for a kind of like a sacker that doesn't have the easy ability to cage dive. I think blodge tackle is a lot more sensible. It's a lot more generalist, and can also.
Thankfully, he's been playing a bunch of Chorfs lately, and tackle has been mostly irrelevant.
Yes, though the first time he comes up against an Agi team, he's going to have a rough time holding on to anything. He has no sure hands. No.
He's going to want to get tackle somewhere soon, whether it be a catcher or one of these blitzers. Ravenous Dawn is pretty close to leveling, so you might be able to pick up tackle on him soon. But this team definitely needs some tackle somewhere.
Yeah, and like you can kind of see why he had even more of a rough time against these Chorfs than you would expect. So much of his TV is committed into dodge, which is just
also a 4-3 reroll. Get rid of the 4-3 reroll. Greenskin Brawlers and Professor Chaos. We got some Orcs again. Slightly.
Currently the division leader and hasn't played his game this week. So it is a boring Orc team, but
has he not
Orc
played his
teams
game
are always
week?
boring. That's just
no. They played. They won. He beat the Undead.
Oh, I was thinking of something.
I mean, the best Orc teams are boring. Honestly, that's sort of how they work.
Also true of Lizard teams. It's true of most pitch controls. Like good development isn't usually very spicy. Like there's the occasional thing like scaled measures where it's just like, wow, this is a disgusting Lizard team. It has a lot of strength and it's got that one skink. But like most good Lizard teams,
block guard, stand firm.
Just like, oh, they have a ton of guard. Yeah, like their players are really annoying to dislodge, and they're just gonna push me around the field.
Like the sort of standard, like good Orc team. You know, you'll get block and guard, and then stand firm eventually on Black Orcs. You'll get some combination of like guard, mighty blow on blitzers. Right, some of them will be guards, some of them will be like killers, as we see here. Right, so we've got one who's gone mighty blow piling on tackle pro, which is like the standard path for killer Orc blitzers. And we've got another one who's doing it in a bit of a different order with tackle first, which I like, because if you're playing elves, you need that tackle somewhere. So grabbing it first on one blitzer is certainly good if you're playing elves soon. And then he's picked up strength and mighty blow, so he'll be another blitzer. And then the other 2 are going support pieces with guard and guard, dodge, stand firm. This piece is excellent. The like blodge firm guard is incredible, especially on a pitch control team. So that's a like Flabk that we've seen do work before, and he will certainly continue to do well with that. And so this is like, it looks boring, but it's a good Orc team. We've got a wrestled dirty player lineman, which I think is great. dirty player for stomping on stuff, and wrestle for if he ever has to be on the line or whatever, or if you just need to wrestle someone. With most of your team having block, it's difficult to pick up or to justify picking up wrestle somewhere. So getting it on a line orc is kind of where you want it. And the sort of standard thrower levels, you got block. He's picked up dodge, which is certainly a plus. Kickoff return. Next few levels are kind of dependent on how you want to play that thrower. The fact that he has dodge means it's not necessarily worth recycling him, because...
Yeah, I mean, you don't have a good option in the blitzers. So what's your biggest problem with this team?
Well...
Let's break from the standard. Let's just talk about players. What's your biggest problem?
We need 2 more guard on the Black Orcs, but we haven't quite made it there yet. It's difficult for them to get it.
Yeah, I would say like the Black Orcs lacking guard, combined with your best Black Orc being having eaten an injury that necessitates a recycling. I don't think you keep Verak break T. It's really tough at this point in the season because you are leading the division and presumably you have
I'd keep
playoff
him.
aspirations.
You need that guard. You don't want to.
You do, but you really need to recycle him. Like Black Orcs are taking hits. AV8 is a
They're
significant.
So slow to level though, and 2 skills is impressive.
Sure, but he's always going to be slow, and just like it's like the Band-Aid problem. I don't think you should do it now.
I would wait.
But I think
Gorfag Eat Spleen is 2 SPP away from leveling. I'd get him guard, and then I'd consider recycling Break T.
Sure, especially like I would see how my next couple of games go.
Yeah, only 2 Mighty Blow, but there's not much you can really do about that now. I mean.
But that's kind of like, that's also part of the Black Orcs are not developing problem. If you're winning, I need to go back and look at your results. Like, if you're winning strongly and you are not getting Black Orc development, I would suggest that perhaps you need to be a bit greedier. No, you're winning mostly 1-0.
No, I think there's not much you can really change about how this has gone so far. More guard, more Mighty Blow is basically where you want this to go. But other than that, like, the team is fine. This team is great. This team looks basically like every Orc team who's played a season or 2 looks like, and does well.
I think it's taller than most, like on average. And I
don't know if that's accurate. The only difference this looks like the only thing that's different here to my regular Orc teams is that the thrower has more SPP, but that's because I normally get rid of the thrower once I get some blitzer levels because I really, really hate movement 5. But that's just me, and some people will often keep him, so...
I mean, it is perhaps worth noting that he has gotten 3 Black Orc MVPs in 23 games.
Yeah.
I think he's gotten a little unlucky, and perhaps me ragging on him about, Black Orc touchdowns is probably unfair. So it's unfortunate, I guess, to say.
No, this team is great. It's very nitpicky, right? Like, if there's a thing you want more on this team, it's more Black Orc levels, but the team is fine. Like, it's not bad. It's just those are the next things you'd probably focus on. And 3 to 4 deaths in season 1 on the Black Orcs do not help.
I mean, but is it not taller than average if it only got 3 out of 23 MVPs on Black Orcs, which is significantly below average?
This is how my Orc teams generally look like.
Yeah, but you're a trash.
It's true. Boss Hog Outlaws, the Welves and Culta.
3 to 4 Bobcats.
That's what I said, and you didn't listen. Boss Hog Outlaws and Welves and Culta. No claw yet. Trash Chorf team. Move on.
No, best Chorf team. Only one worth talking about. It's fair. It's just dwarves with some faster player. Love it. 10 out of 10.
We got 1 Bull Centaur who's got Blodge, which is certainly annoying. We can get Guard and Stand Firm are probably in his near future, considering Vulpes carries on a Hobgoblin. We have a Block Tackle Bull Centaur, so he's the Blitzer certainly. Do we have any recent level ups? The Stand Firm on DJ's crew might be relatively new, which is if you don't roll Claw, where you go with Chorfs, Mighty Blow, Guard, Stand Firm, pray for Claw if you haven't gotten it yet.
Yeah, Travis Scott's Mighty Blow is new, and I think on a Strength 4 piece I would have gotten Guard first. I I get how annoying guard first is if you then roll doubles, especially on a team with 0 claw mighty blow. But strength 4 guard is just such a big improvement for Chorfs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
The mighty blow is really good because it's going to help him level faster. And if this is the guy you want to level now, because he will be an incredible killer if you happen to get those levels. So like you're in an Eternal League, I guess you're sort of tempted to go mighty blow first to try and really push that leveling narrative. If you were trying to win right now, I think guard is the correct choice. But if playing in an Eternal League like REBBL, I think mighty blow is the right call there.
Yeah, I mean, you're not like... It's just like he's going to have serious problems against other pitch control teams simply because he doesn't have
that's true,
guard.
but he also has 3 strength 4, which helps.
Doesn't hurt, but there's only so
And,
much strength 4
well, I
to
mean,
do
Mike
this
Jones is very close to leveling, and then... yeah, I mean, maybe your next... Like I said, maybe your next game might be a bit harder than it could have been because you didn't take guard there, but I think it's the correct choice in the long term.
Yeah, and I mean, like Manus is saying, you just blitz with the strength
Yeah.
4 mighty blow every turn until he levels, as long as you can do it.
And then he's going to get, like, you pray for Claw, but, you know, he's going to become your... You're going to try to make him a really good killer, and if it doesn't work, you still have the option of making him the guard strength 4 stand firm piece if he doesn't roll doubles in his next, like, 2 levels. Then we have... What else is on this team that is new? I don't think anything crazy. Standard Hobgoblin levels. There's the Ball Carrier one with block and sure hands, and then we've got a Wrestle and a Dirty Player. You know, Dirty Player, Wrestle, and Kick are probably what else you'll see on these remaining Hobgoblins when they level up. And then we have, with a Rebel Yell, Jaspersaurus Rex. This is the Undead that lost to Professor Chaos's Orcs this week. We got Tackle finally, I think, with a white level. And we've also picked up Guard on one of the whites, which I think is fine. It's on the piling on Mighty Blow, which is a little annoying because you're, you know, piling yourself on and losing the access to that guard. But if you you have, I guess it makes him a little more flexible. You have the option of moving him to be a guard piece, and you have the option of piling on if you're going to blitz with him. Downside is he's also in movement 5 now, so the option of moving with guard is slightly less good. It's not non-ideal, but I think with only 1 guard on the team, you have to keep it for now.
Yeah, probably. I don't love having piling on.
Yeah, and a brand new mummy with a mummy death from last game, meaning that the guard is certainly really important right now because you only have 1. The one you do have though is incredible. Mighty Blow, guard, stand firm, block. That's a really nice piece. Like that mummy is incredible.
Yeah. And apparently the mummy died to a random skillless bob hit.
I certainly
Ben
can.
can relate. How's your Nurgle, or your Beast of Nurgle doing, Ben?
Well, my last one died to an uphill Chorf double pow. My current one...
It was a double
okay,
bow.
I don't remember the details. My current one is niggled by an uphill double pow from a skillless hobgoblin. So, you know, that's the thing that happens. Strength 4 zombie we've talked about. That's not new. Let's see. Anything else that's new here? Or we're certainly...
Yeah, it's true, Menace. When I opened up this team, I was like, oh wow, those are really speedy mummies. What the hell is going on?
I know,
there?
right?
I'm so used to mummies just being at the top.
Yeah, and then there's like ghouls. Like there's 1 ghoul at the top, there's 2 at the bottom. This is very clearly a person who just built his team and then has added players onto the bottom and just leaves blank spaces when they die. It's awful.
He's just
Probably.
doing this for everything else.
And the mummy death is unfortunate, but at least they're not terribly slow to level because they start with Mighty Blow.
I mean, at least it wasn't.
That's true.
Guy.
And mummies aren't the worst to re-level because they start with Mighty Blow.
Not gonna have the cash to replace them.
No,
for a very long time.
and
well,
all they need to be really much more useful is guard. So you're only 6 SPP away from, which is, you know, a Kaz and an MVP or a couple Kazes away from being a useful player again. So it sucks, but it's certainly not the end of the world.
Yep. So yeah, decent looking Undead team, and then onto another
There's a
bloody
lot of
bell
black
like
zombies on that
Wesker,
team.
which is a Skaven.
There's a lot.
There are. Block zombies are really, really
They are.
resilient.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
No,
there's nothing
it's
wrong
fine.
with that.
I would like to point out that there's a lot. You don't really normally see that many zombies that happen to get levels and stay alive.
That's true. Obviously, you don't love investing skills into 40k linemen, but zombies in particular, being AV8 and regeneration, aren't bad to have. Certainly, like
Block, dirty player.
block, like certainly reliability / like easy reliability kill skills. Like, so yeah, Skaven, kind of seeing better days. Their linemen in particular are looking kind of thin, but that's to be expected from rats. They do have.
I was just gonna say that Cheese Whiz has wrestle now. We talked 2 weeks ago about how this string 3 gutter runner is going to be incredible with a few more levels, and he's picked up another one with wrestle. So we're on our way.
Yeah, we've kind of talked about how it's difficult, but I think correct to pick wrestle on the strength up gutter runner, simply because you want to use him as kind of the sacker for like the non-strip stacker. So like we're talking wrestle, strip ball, or wrestle tackle, I should say. When you're not, because like there's the case where you're you're uphilling a player without sure hands, in which case wrestle, strip, tackle gets the ball off of them like 95% of the time with a reroll, even on red dice. But when you're not doing that, the strength up is nice to kind of like make the block a bit more reliable when you can't just, take pushes and knock the ball out of their hands.
Yeah, it's much easier. I mean, with wrestle tackle, you're, and they have sure hands. I mean, you're still looking for a 4, 5, or 6, right, with the both down stumbles or pow, but that's certainly way better than the must find a pow sort of situation you'd be in with one of the strip ball guys on strength 2 uphill.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's really nice. No super killer storm vermin yet, unfortunately. Harry Ratstard is pretty new. Actually, 6 matches in, he just hasn't gotten very much SPP.
It's just like once you have a Mighty Blow one, you're always going to be blitzing with the Mighty Blow one, so it's hard to get SPP on.
Just gonna pray for an MVP on him, because then he'll level instantly, and then you can grab the Mighty Blow and make it a bit more even in terms of development.
Yeah, Drat's Squeaks is 1 SPP away, or 3 SPP away rather, from piling on or claw. So looking good for him. I would have probably taken piling on over guard here. It's a tough call.
And line rats doing line rat things, just being injured in various ways, but that's kind of their job, so that's fine.
This is a dwarf team. It doesn't have a death roller, and it's coached by Rumblebee. Then there is Snake.
Rumblebee still hasn't played his game yet this week, or did they finish? They finished.
He's playing it.
So real quick, let's go back look and see what that result.
I have to back all the way
No,
up
they haven't
on it.
finished yet, have they? I thought they'd finished. Okay.
They have not finished.
I thought they were finished.
I see no match reports in the REL chat.
I looked at the history and I thought I recognized that was but I thought I recognized that game. That was last week, I guess.
So, Rumblebee's dwarf team is a dwarf team. It doesn't have a ton of interesting things. It's taken jump up on a blitzer prior to taking piling on. I think that's fine on, especially
and it's
because
the only
blitzer, so
when you're so slow as dwarves, like just saving a little bit of extra movement on your already quote fast pieces at movement 5 is not insignificant.
Yeah, it's not too bad. He's got the all important strength 4 piece.
The stand firm
nice.
on the other blitzer is pretty new, I think. It's sort of standard. You'll see some combination of guard, stand firm, mighty blow, maybe tackle. So one's got mighty blow tackle, and the other one guard, stand firm. So we have the punchy one, and we have the one to help support plays while being slightly more mobile than a normal Longbeard.
Yeah, the Agi 3 is a big deal, given that sometimes you do need to make those dwarf dodges, and the blitzers can do it more reliably.
Yeah, and or some that potentially you can hand off to them or carry on them if you really need to.
Sure, but guard and stand firm do not help with that, certainly. But if Michelangelo had rolled a double, I think he would have taken dodge for sure. I don't love dodge as a pickup for Longbeards. I think diving tackle gives you generally more value, but I don't hate it on blitzers, certainly support.
And then the Longbeards have done Longbeard things: guard, mighty blow, stand firm are the things that are going to occur whenever they level up. 3 of them have Gun Guard and then Mighty Blow next. Troll Slayers are Troll Slayers with Mighty Blow first. And the strength runner is certainly really useful. He's a great offensive runner with sure hands, strength 4, and block. He's difficult to get the ball off of. And then the other one is being the defensive wrestle tackle sort of runner. So not the best dwarf team in the world yet. We'd like to see some. I think I'd like to see more guard on the Longbeards. Like you need a couple like those. You need some more skills on those Longbeards. Like they need guard or maybe more Mighty Blow. And then it's like a great dwarf team, but it's certainly a good dwarf team. We have Snake Kitties by Teddy Rose. So
was this the team that pulled out the surprise win against the Chorfs?
I don't know.
No, it was the team that. This is the team that pulled out the surprise win
against the Welves. So yeah, there was 1 tackle and only 3 block amongst the Saurus, but they managed to pull it off anyway. They did suffer a MNG, I believe, on that Saurus. Yes, it's an MNG, so he's fine. He'll be back next game. It'll be unfortunate to play a game down a Saurus, but down a Saurus and with the little development you have, you're very likely in Slibly range against most of the other teams in this division, so it's not the worst thing in the world.
Yep, and he's got a new pickup in My Cast Go, grabbing the all-important plus Agi for Skinks, which is kind of opens up a lot of doors in terms of like reliably scoring mostly, and not eating rerolls as much on pickups, simply because the 2+ is a lot easier than the 3+, and Stunty Agi 4 dodge means that it's very hard to effectively screen off against a lizard.
Yeah, 2+ anywhere.
Like Lizard's just running it in. Yeah, Lizard's just running it in if they manage to push into
if they're within 8 squares of the end zone, there's essentially not much you can do to prevent that skink from just walking into the end zone regardless, other than you have, unless you have specific like diving tackle type players that you can put in the way, and you don't see them very often.
Yeah. I think we talk about this fairly often. Teddy Rose seems to not love sidestep. I think sidestep as a first skill, barring skills or doubles on skinks, is generally speaking worth it. I don't love just diving tackle by itself. It's way too easy for something to block off of a strength 2 blockless player. But if you just throw that one diving tackle on a dude who has the ball and is potatoing a little bit, like 90% of the time, like 99% of the time, the best play for him is simply just to hit you than it is to dodge away. So the sidestep makes that more annoying because you're strength 2, right? They're just going to blitz through you, but sidestep means you can stay on them. Yep. In the 80 league, which I almost won, I had a blodge step diving tackle skink, and I guard stand firm procs is 2 SPP from leveling, so we're very close to leveling with him. You pray for block, and if not, what do you even consider there? Grab and then fired, I guess. Probably grab. Yeah, grab then recycled. Croxagores don't usually live to level 5, and if they do, and they do not have anything interesting, I would consider recycling him. Think of what else you could take. Break tackle isn't bad. I would probably take break tackle over grab. I think you get more value out of that on a movement 6 big guy, even though it is 2+ to get him to do anything. If you prevents him from I guess it depends on how you're using him. It prevents him from getting locked up, right? By like a zombie or whatever, because then he can just leave. 70% of the time. It does, grab helps with 1-turn attempts on skinks if you're gonna go that, but 1-turns with lizards aren't necessarily reliable anyway because stunties. Well, more so, they're just not that. The grab doesn't help the challenging part. Like, blitzing someone into a hole is not hard for lizards simply because they are strength 4 and have a lot of guard access. So it's not really much of a challenge to like the thing that grab helps with is, and not really the other thing it does is make sure that annoying dodgy players stay on the Croxagore to utilize that prehensile tail. But I think it's it's debatable certainly which one you take. I would probably go break tackle personally. Then we have and that's it. That's an admin team. It is. It has a death roller though. You want to talk about it? The death roller is a rookie. So we can't look at either of these. Those other matches haven't finished yet, despite currently going on. So I guess we will go into predictions. Or why don't we skip the predictions until after Div 7, and then we can come back to it, and hopefully those 2 games have finished, and then we can kind of...
That seems good to me. So this...
Would you like to know the point tallies for this
sure.
week so far? -1
that
for
puts
me,
me at
1 for
4
you.
and you at 0 currently. So let's move on to...
Okay.
We can look at 7, and all of these games have been played. So let's see if these point tallies change at all. So we had...
Congratulations, Div 7.
we had the Old World Wardens versus Ye Old Guard. So in very, very classic us, we were both wrong. We predicted the Undead, and the Nurgle took this one. 2-0.
Did they ever? Yeah. 2-0. The Old World Wardens literally never
And they
possessed
got
the ball.
like basically double or outblocked by almost 2 times.
Yeah, it looks like they got...
Yeah, they sustained 7 casualties, 5 KOs, and a death. They got, like, this game was firmly in the hands of the Nurgle.
They just look like they got utterly dumpstered. Yeah, Jesus. None of these stats is very comfortable.
Nope. Sorry to the Old World Wardens there, but yeah, that did not go your way, unfortunately.
Nope.
Sure. Hey, look, Tentacles, like, a lot of tentacle failures, which is surprising, because Tentacles never works for me. Man, that is not a good game for the Undead. They took a ton of damage, didn't even control the ball very often. I mean, good game for the Nurgle, but, oh, man, that is not nice for the Old World Wardens and Tetsuya. Then we had Sugar and Spice versus Stump Force. So in... once again, we're right. Or no, we were wrong. So we both predicted that the Orcs would take this, and the Dwarves took it 1-0. The runner picked up MVP, so he's 1 away from leveling, which is, well, you hope for a double or something, because he has most of the skills you care about as a Dwarf runner right now. And Parsley the Blitzer picked up MVP to level him, so he will get something new and exciting, potentially. Sorry, 1 second. Little cough there, didn't want to bother you. Similar in terms of ball possession, similar in terms of blocks succeeded. 5 KOs, 1 casualty, 2 casualties sustained. So the Orcs sustaining more removals than the Dwarfs did, but the Orcs had... Let's check out the KO rules here. Wake up after KO, 100%, so 4. So all of those KOs returned, meaning that the Orcs were probably only really down players in half 1. What I imagine happened here is that the Dwarves managed to KO a bunch of Orcs in half 1, scored on turn 8, and then all the Orcs came back, but by then but the Dwarves managed to sort of successfully defend, only having taken 2 casualties, and the Orcs taking 1 and then another one probably in half 2 to even up the player count. Means that this is a very grindy, pushy, sort of even game for the most part, but because of half 1 going likely in the favor of the Dwarves with the removals, the Dwarves managed to score where the Dwarves didn't. So wrong for both of us.
Das Schuttenheimen philosophical.
Are they? And
the Orcs took it.
And we predicted
2-0.
the Orcs were going to win, right? So extra points, hooray!
Unfortunately, the humans have eaten some... Oh no.
Oh no. Do I have to go back and look at REL 6 really quick?
Oh no. Yeah, you do.
The team value is 1180. That makes me sad. Oh, through Tossley.
No.
Through Tossley is Agi busted. No.
Dead.
Plus Agi minus Agi.
He's dead. I mean, I don't even know if he's dead.
7.
Like,
but no, through Tossley, no.
270k. I wonder if it was to a block.
Oh man.
Oh, poor Phil, man. And movement bust on Wilson Wonder as well.
I need to find.
Oh, and a movement bust on Winston Wonder. So he took 6 casts and 3 of them were perms. I mean, I guess that's statistically average, but no, because MNGs.
Drew Tossley took a lot of blocks. Like on the first page, he got blocked 3 times.
I mean, 3 blocks in a game is.
But that's just on the first page. Depends on how it's ordered, I guess. But there's another 2 on the next page. Although none of them were blocks. They were all either POWs or stumbles. So it was not block that did him in. Well, that saves you a lot of TV for the next game, I guess. But that's not really that's not a bonus. All right. Back to 7. Then we had. Did you note that we were wrong about orcs versus dwarves?
No, I wasn't here. I was trying to see if my character made any blocks, but he did not.
So in the orc versus dwarf matchup, we predicted orcs and the dwarfs won 1-0. Very even game, like similar blocks, mostly similar removals, but the dwarves probably had more KOs that did come back for the orcs. So my assumption was that the dwarves like offensive drive resulted in a bunch of KOs, and then it made it easier for them to score. But then in half 2, the teams were still pretty even, so the orcs couldn't really do much.
Seems likely, and like we said, the death roller. This is the first match where the death roller really played a good role,
and that it probably actually helped in half 1 with resulting in some of those KOs and stuff. Then we had the Reality Kings and the Mordheim Cryptors. So we predicted that the Kislev would take this, and they certainly did 3-1. Hack was picked up for the Mordheim Cryptors, the sidestep chainsaw, and he got MVP, which kind of sucks. I wonder if he did anything useful. So despite winning 3-1, the Reality Kings barely had ball possession. Like, this is, having seen Superfed play this team, this probably is a lot of 2 turns. Or like pick up the ball, score when the Cryptors happen to drop it, or after they've sacked it or whatever. He's very much in the immediately score camp rather than stall. So that is not surprising at all to me. Way more blocks for the Cryptors, but that's not unsurprising. A death sustained for Superfed, so we might see a player gone there. Use the Apo on Captain Stabbin's MNG despite better judgment. I felt I needed him for the Wood Elves. I regretted it immediately, and of course it didn't work. Punishment came turn 16 when HD Love died, my only strip ball weeks before Ogres. Oof.
Yeah, that really stings. Yeah, I've been there, though. It's when you see that MNG pop up, and you still got your Apo, it can be so very tempting to...
so 4 KOs and 2 casualties, but managed to just outscore the Cryptors without too much difficulty. Suffering some damage from it, so that's unfortunate, and we'll have to see what the team looks like when we get to the team reviews, but... well done for him for certainly taking this game and causing some damage of his own in the process, with 3 casualties delivered to the Cryptors. So Milf Hunter and Anger both getting a decent amount of SPP out of that.
Yep, and then we have Rats versus Ogres, wherein you said the Ogres would win because of course you did, and they did 3-1. Amusingly, the Ogres got out armor broken by the Rats. I guess that's not terribly surprising as Rats. A lot of punchy teams will actually struggle to get at Noblars when there are 6 Ogres on the team, because the Ogres just take up a lot of space, and if you can't dodge around them, then it's a lot of problems. It can be a problem. Rats are fast. Rats are speedy boys, and gutter runners get natural 2 dice on
I would like to point out there was a successful pass on the Ogre team. There is an Agi 4 Ogre, which is amazing.
Yeah.
4 injuries inflicted for the Ogres, 3 injuries inflicted for the Rats.
Flip to the SPP page for a treat. Just that, like, both teams got like 20.
There's a bunch of injuries on both sides, and the Rats got 3 touchdowns, which certainly caused some SPP gains.
Rats got 21.
Yeah, the Noblar passed Vanity pass to the Agi 4 Ogre to level him up. That's amazing.
Do you want Noblar?
No, but that's still great.
Levels? Really?
I'm still very pleased with that. And once again, I'm going to predict Gypsy Prince to win every game from here until the end of time, unless he thinks that that's boring, because I love this team so much. If Gypsy Prince tells me he wants me to predict like for realsies, I will. But until then, I'm going to predict ogres all the time because that's incredible. Catch.
Next up,
Catch on Nobblers is probably pretty good. And you'll also see like some of them diving tackle is pretty good. If you happen to get doubles, block can be nice, or even leader if you want to like save some TV because ogres are going to be so expensive. So like it's not terrible to get levels on Nobblers, but for the most part you don't like Nobblers aren't going to live very long, so it's hard for them to stay developed, I guess.
Sorry, I'm throwing shade at Shooty. Then we have Horn Stars versus Crypt Lords. So this is Chaos versus.
Yeah, and we predicted Chaos to win. It was a tie. No points anywhere.
It was indeed. So no points.
Chaos looked like they have the game pretty solidly in their control with most of the ball possession, 51 blocks, like a bunch of KOs and injuries inflicted. I'm surprised that this ended up in a tie.
This could have been like when you see these 1-1 results, sometimes it can be like Undead went on offense first and managed to score. Undead or Chaos couldn't counter score.
Chaos wrecked them,
and then like
too.
Undead started imploding like second half, but Undead didn't play aggressively enough for the win, so they didn't.
Yeah, so potentially likely that like Undead scored on like turn 6, 7, 8 kind of thing in half one, and then the Chaos were unable to convert that into a touchdown in the first half, and then rather than it being a 2-1 grind, it just became the 1-1 grind, unfortunately. But they did manage to do a lot of work in half two. So despite it being a tie, you get a bunch of SPP out of it, which is not the worst result in the world.
Yep, it does look like the Chaos failed 5 out of 5 KO rolls, so maybe they weren't quite as up in numbers.
That also could have been a reason for the 1-1 if they stayed similar in numbers, having suffered that many KOs.
Yeah, and regen worked 75% of the time, so most of those Kazas didn't stick. Never mind, it doesn't show under the injuries inflicted if it regens. Yeah, quite the game for the Chaos. They got a lot of SPP for a tie, but they probably were looking for a win there.
Should have been a 2-1 grind. He did a 5+ dodge to sack on turn 8. There you go. That explains it. Wasn't able to convert the first touchdown on half one on turn 8. So it was aiming for a 2-1 grind, and it did not work out the way you want with a lucky dice roll on behalf of the Undead, potentially. So there you go.
As a note, before we go into the second game, we
did really well last season. I don't know why this season is so much harder. I don't know.
Lizards beat Rats for the second time in a week.
We both predicted Rats, and the Lizards win.
The Rats took 45 blocks and 19 armor breaks, resulting in only 2 KOs and 3 injuries. Getting a bit lucky, in fact, on those armor break dice. I mean, you'd expect 9-ish, 8 to 9 removals rather than 5. 3 injuries is probably right, but I'd expect.
And the Lizards only taking 18 blocks is such a very Rat thing to see. It's like a couple blitzes here and there.
I mean, like, it's really hard to block. Is you blitz a Saurus or a Skink a turn, and that's pretty much it. Like, you can't really get reliable blocks against Lizards, which is how Rats lose to Lizards. Like, just not being able to really get anything done simply because the Lizards just punch you every turn with their strength 4 pieces, and you can't really retaliate on the
Saurus MVP is always nice to have. More Saurus SPP, more better. But yeah.
Truth. And that does put him pretty close to leveling. He's only 2 Kaz or a touchdown and a Kaz or something like that away, or he's MVP.
Yeah, we are not doing well on these predictions. I think we're going to be dead even after this, right? Like, are we both going to get minus points? Because I had 1 in 6 that I was right and you were wrong. And now we have 1 in 7 where you were right and I was wrong. Or 2 in 7 where you were right and I was wrong.
Well, it depends on how the last game goes. And it turns out the What Else won, which means I get 2 points and you get negative.
So you'll be at... you get 1 point and I get negative 1 point?
This match, yes. For Div 7, you are for Div 7, you're at negative
excellent
4. And I'm
so that
0.
So that puts me at 0 and you at -1, I think, for the week. Which means that
Oh wait, no, we were right on the orcs versus humans.
Oh, so
that
I'll be
actually
at 1
changes
and you'll be
that
at 0. We're really good at this game, guys. We're really good at this prediction thing. We were good last season. I don't know why we're doing so poorly now. Anyway, all bark and no bite and salty chips. I predicted the dark elves, and you predicted the wood elves. And we have a wood elf win, 2-1.
Looks like, Jesus, the wood elves got the shit kicked out of them. 3 KOs, 5 injuries.
Oof.
Yeah, they did a bit of punching back, but really not that much. I mean, you'd expect that. Dark elves tend to be a bit punchier than wood elves. But the wood elves were able to score, as they tend to do pretty well against wood elves, simply because the wood elves can fairly easily outrange the much slower.
The strength 4 witch elf picks up MVP to level, which is pretty exciting. I want to see what that player gets, so we'll see when we get there. Catcher for all bark no bite gets the MVP. Doesn't level him, but
he is MNG'd only, so that's not too bad. But does bring him 2 SPP away from tackle or something like that. He's already got wrestle, wrestle.
Looks like a pretty elfy game. Ball on the floor a lot of the time. And wood elves are going to be able to take advantage of that better than dark elves are, even with few players, because of the extra movement and stuff. Dark elves certainly trying to play a more punchy game and succeeding with the amount of removals they have, but wasn't successful enough to prevent the wood elf scoring machine. So that goes 2-1 to all bark no bite over the salty chips. And so after that, this is what the leaderboard looks like. So we've got Razzlestorm and Glomar up at the top there with 4-0-0 starts. So both coaches off to a really good start this season. So separating themselves along with Superfed at 3-1-0 and my Nemo at 2-1-1, sort of the top group there. But Razzlestorm and Glomar are certainly making a push for the top spot early and staying that way. So we're like with the previous division, we are starting to see some groups emerge here. We got the top group, and then we've got sort of the middle group here with Engray, Dr. Spagooters, PDX Bosco, Weeknight Wizard, sort of and David Leclerc and Reno Maximus, sort of all roughly similar with 1 to 2 wins, and then poor old Gypsy Prince, Yayo, Redbeard, and Tetsuya not doing great this season, but Gypsy Prince is also ogre, so it's hard to blame him for that one. So shall we take a look at some teams? So we've got Salty Chips and Engray. I want to see what this witch elf got. Less exciting than I thought, but still it's a good pickup. Blodge Step is certainly great, and with Frenzy, surf options, having sidestep to prevent yourself from getting counter surfed is really great. So this is a wonderful surfing piece with strength 4. You don't often need assists. You can do it alone. You have Frenzy, then you have sidestep to prevent counter surfs. It's pretty threatening witch elf.
For sure. This team is still really lacking in doubles. I mean, it's got stat ups.
Yeah, guard or mighty blow.
The one thing I think that this team could really use is a bit of guard mighty blow. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a.
But other than that, yeah, really solid looking team. It also could use one more tackle. It's only got 1 currently, and I think a second one on Chip, the Agi 5 lineman, would be good.
Speedy Chip number 4 potentially, because he's only.
Yeah, certainly one of the blitzers. Yeah.
We've got. I think the wrestle on this other witch elf, Chippy number 2, is probably pretty new, being 6 SPP. So that's good. You'll often see that on dark elf teams. You get 1 block, 1 wrestle sort of witch elf. It's like the sort of pseudo sacker type player.
Yep.
And we still have the Agi 6 and Agi 5 linemen available, which are pretty great. Unfortunately, Chip and Gazion, the Lodge lineman and the Raj linemen, are both movement busted, but they'll probably just be line fodder, I guess, because you need someone to be line fodder, and it's not going to be Chip or Chip with the Agi 6 and Agi 5 respectively, and Kick for that matter. Yep. Fiction is hosting for 27 viewers. Thanks, Fiction. Welcome, Fiction viewers, to the REL 6 and 7 Div Preview Week 5. So, I mean, you may not be incredibly interested if you're not from REL 6 or REL 7, but feel free to stick around and hang out while we talk about some Blood Bowl. This This team is illegal by the rules. We've talked about it before. He made the team before he was aware / before it was an official rule, I think, because this is a team that came from REBBL, where the rules are slightly different. And
no, the rule exists in REBBL. He just made the team before it was.
Yes, there you go. So he's been replacing it as people have died, but some players are still original and have not been able to be replaced yet. So it's a grandfathered in team currently, as it were. Then we have the Old World Wardens by Tetsuya, not doing so well this season and had a rough game last game. Bimmy Jr., son of Bimmy, being an agi busted rookie ghoul, meaning he is now fired.
Yeah, and this is kind of where Undead start to struggle with the best of times, but this is not the best of times, as he's had to recycle a white. He's lost both of his ghouls recently. He's got a niggled rookie one that needs to go, and he's now got an agi busted one that needs to go. So Tetsuya is having a rough time holding on to positional, certainly. His team is looking like real thin. Amusingly enough, he still has the sneaky get dirty player, Mr. Skeleton.
Meme skeleton, best skeleton. No, it's fine. It's fine to have sneaky get dirty player on a meme skeleton. I accept this. He's a meme skeleton, and I love him.
He's the meme.
Yeah, both mummies. One is AV busted, which really sucks, but he is also plus movement block, so there's no way you get rid of him. And stand firm. King Ramses, the other mummy with guard break tackle, is very, very close to leveling, just 1 SPP, so likely stand firm unless we roll something silly there. Agi White gives you some options with that, both for dodging to make guard more useful and also as a potential throwing / receiving piece if you need to in a pinch. You know, not ideal, but it gives you the option if you really have to use it. And then a rookie White, unfortunately, and then, you know, couple block zombies, meme skeleton, and a bunch of ghouls that keep having to get recycled, which is really unfortunate. So it's not going so well for the former college champ this season.
Yeah, he's having a rough time. Lost his strength up white. Lost all of his other developed positions.
Yeah, it's been a rough start for him, but he still has a good player in that white and a good player in that mummy. So if next couple games go reasonably well for him, he's got a good chance of recovering, but not going so well so far.
Yeah, he just needs some softer teams.
Squeaky blinders.
Then we have
Sorry.
Yep, by random accident. It's okay. One of us has to do it.
This team. No claw on the Storm Vermin here either, but one does have piling on Mighty Blow tackle. Other one is MNG'd, so the next game will be down to Storm Vermin, which is certainly pretty significant. Then we've got the Finn Colby. Is a pretty good gutter runner with 2 heads, wrestle and strip ball.
Yep, pseudo agi up for all of his sacking duties, basically.
And he's got a really good sacker in that manner. John Colby being the backup sacker with wrestle and strip, and then like super standard gutter runner development, 2 sort of wrestle strip ball players, 2 block sidestep sort of players.
Yeah, I don't like John Colby also having strip for the same reason that I don't like it on the blitzers, rather, from the last thing we were talking about. Like, I just find that tackle would be a better pickup if you're going to do, like, kind of...
I mean, eventually both of them are going to be a wrestle strip tackle. Like, having 2 as Skaven is the way to do it, but maybe not necessarily in the order that's happened. The downside is, like, if you only have the 1 strip, Skaven can depend so heavily on that, like, sort of sacking type play that if you only have the 1 and he is removed, it can make your game pretty difficult. So there's that to consider, but with only tackle it makes it certainly more versatile in case your opponent does have sure hands. It really depends on the teams you're facing, I think, right? It's the kind of thing where you look ahead a week or 2 to see what teams you're likely to face and whether or not strip ball is going to be a common theme or not, or sure hands. Yep. Sorry.
Other than that, looking pretty good. Kind of still fishing for the claw, like you mentioned. He's got the fairly developed gutter runners. Nothing crazy, but
and
we've
really talked about this strength 4 thrower before. He's great to hold on to the ball. It's slightly harder to get off of him, and then he can hand off or pass or whatever to a gutter runner to do the scoring. Nope.
Not a lot new here, so we can probably move on. He's like pretty close to a bunch of levels, and I think this team is going to be a lot more exciting.
Yeah, there'll be a lot to talk about then. Yeah, there's a bunch of players that are really close, and I'm excited to see where he goes with it. Then we have the Hornstars 2018 by My Nemo, 1940 now. This Chaos team is coming along strongly. What do we have new here? Looks like we've got 2 newish claws on Chaos Warriors, and Lance Thruster and Luke Thightwalker.
Oh, Ben, the Rumblebee game
Did
is
Rumblebee
over.
lose?
Guess what it was?
Oh, so I was right. Oh,
No,
that's what you said would happen. Damn it.
Prophetic.
Yeah, the Block Mighty Blow dude has been removed. Unfortunately, got fired. But we still have, so the Chaos Warriors are getting there. They're certainly going the kill route over the support route, with 3 going Mighty Blow Block Claw, Mighty Blow Block Claw, Mighty Blow Block first. Only 1 going Mighty Blow Guard. So this is very, very heavily focused on removals, but it's not really that difficult to get removals with 3 Mighty Blow Claw players, and then another Mighty Blow piling on Tackle Beastmen. So it's, two totally valid strategies for playing Chaos, and this one is certainly the more murdery type. More Guard is certainly going to help a lot on this team, and we'll probably see it. I would consider it on Bendover next. He's only 3 SPP away, and I kind of like the sort of 2 killy Chaos Warriors to...
Wait. Why did Buster Good get piling on before Claw?
That's a good question.
Answer me these questions today.
Because you're not going to take piling on the Chaos Warriors, and I don't, and it piling on helps.
Sure.
Well, it depends. If you're playing elf teams a lot, then the piling on helps a lot more than the Claw does.
I think you still take like the Claw first. Like if you're facing like 5 elf teams in a row, maybe, but. Unless I was staring.
Yeah, he fired the Chaos Warrior that you advised, or the Block Mighty Blow, not Chaos Warrior, the Block Mighty Blow player that you advised to fire 2 weeks ago or last week.
Yeah, he messaged me about it. I think that was sensible. You don't.
Yeah,
need
so it's for killing dodgy dudes in the next 2
2
weeks, right? So there's going to be, if we look at the schedule, I guess next week we've got Squeaky Blinders, which are rats, and the week after that he's got
Skaven,
two Skaven teams. Like the piling on is going to be more useful than the Claw for the next 2 weeks. So that's
fine. But it's also dangerous to be piling on.
Well, both of those Skaven teams don't have much of a bench, so if it's going to be dangerous for them to foul as well. However, they'll get a ton of inducements against this team.
Oh Lord, will they ever? And Skaven do usually pick up a bench with
Yep. No, so I think the piling on is totally fine. I think it's great. Yeah, more guard is what this team needs. I would take it on Bendover next. I like more on Nurgle anyway. I kind of like to do 2 killy Chaos Warriors and 2 sort of guardy ones. But on Chaos, you'll often see like 4 sort of guardy ones, because you can have multiple killer beastmen, because you have multiple beastmen, whereas on Nurgle you only get 4. So it's harder to dedicate multiples to that, and that's why I like Chaos Warriors having it. But we've got a killer beastman and Buster Good. We've got a block strength beastman and another strength beastman. So a lot of sort of fake Chaos Warriors.
Yeah, those strength beastmen are really going to be really nice once they pick up guard as well. I really like turning strength up beastmen.
Yeah, essentially.
Pillars. I think it adds a lot to the team and like kind of makes them almost into like pseudo lizards.
Yeah, you don't really
agility,
need
so
like, because they're horns, you don't really need to make your strength 4 player your blitzer immediately, because they're strength 4 when they blitz anyway. So you don't really need to worry too much about the making your strength player the blitzer for sure. And making them pillars is really useful. Let's see. The guard pickup is probably pretty new. I like that. This team definitely needs more guard. I mean, he's got a lot of kill, so the kill can help him win games, but if that claw doesn't fire, you can potentially have a hard time winning without more guard. And then we've got good ball carrier, and I think the tackle is probably relatively new, which is good considering you have 2 and you're likely to play double rats in the next 2 weeks. So the claw or the tackle is certainly a really good pickup.
Yep. I think I probably would have gone. You're talking about Rocky Ball Boner?
Yes.
I probably would have gone and turned him into the carrier, but I don't hate the turning him into the sacker play, but yeah, I probably would have gone with ditching Mathagors at some point and turning Rocky into the
that
carrier,
would be fine too.
It's not the worst thing.
I mean, either, and this way you have two options as well in case something happens to one of them, and it can be really frustrating on like a chaosy or like Nurgle Bash sort of team that only has one real capable ball carrier to lose that ball carrier, because it can be so hard to level a new one. I mean, Rats Against Teen Stars, Razzle Storm, also at the top of the division currently. This one has a Claw Mighty Blow Storm Vermin, also with horns, so that's a really nice Storm Vermin. And he's supported by, ironically, Claw Palm Holland, who does not have Claw Palm.
Yeah, no, he's the support.
Yeah, you've got the Tackle Mighty Blow Vermin for like Elves or Skaven or what have you, and then you've got the Claw Mighty Blow Horns one for like the Bashy teams. And I really like these vermin because like you have one for both situations, and in the situation where you're playing the sort of punchy teams, you have the other one that you're not using being the guard one. So you have a lot of good options with those storm vermin.
Yep, and you could even go piling on Claw Palm Holland if you wanted to next. I would either go piling on or stand firm, probably. Unless if you didn't roll doubles. If he rolls doubles, you take Claw. Simply as a
anything else lying around new? I think the sidestep on Pwitik is new. So that's the sort of, switched around some standard levels there. Block sidestep, but he went block tackle sidestep, which is fine. Let's see, anything else new-ish? Kick lineman is probably new, and I think we talked about that 2 weeks ago, that like he had the dirty player, he had the wrestle, the other one he was missing was probably kick. There aren't any gross one-turners yet in REL as far as I've seen. There's some gross gutter runners certainly, like Agi 5 Leap is pretty good, and then the Wrestle Strength 3 gutter runner is pretty good, but there aren't any plus movement gutter runners yet, no natural one-turners.
I don't think any of our divisions have it. Oh, no, there might be one. No, none of our divisions do. No.
I don't know what it is. I refuse to say the word natty one-turner. It just sounds really dumb to me, so I refuse to use that seriously. I will always say a natural one-turner. And I'm not sure why. I don't like that.
You take yourself too seriously, clearly. So yeah, really good-looking team from Razzle. Got a lot of variety to the gutter runners. Got a lot of good levels. Levels are all what you'd want. Has the only lineman levels that really matter, which is a wrestle piece for sticking on something annoying, a kick piece, and a dirty player. Just needs a natty one-turner, like you said.
And Superfed, down about 200 TV from last time.
Because Captain Stabbin is MNG'd and remained that way despite the attempt. So
yeah, and the strip ball is dead and gone, which is certainly unfortunate.
Don't make the noise. It's really loud.
MILF Hunter, I think, because he got like 5 SPP on MILF Hunter, so MILF Hunter leveled up to make him Lodge Guard and Diving Tackle, so that's an annoying good piece as well. Come Fiesta, that's not new on the guard, I don't think. It might be from 2 weeks ago because it's pretty close, but once again, guard stand firm block. They're both of these blitzers are annoying to shift, and they're going to do their job really well with putting guard in places with sort of movement 7 leap, being able to drop them where you want, and then having guard that isn't easy to shift is very, very handy.
It is indeed. Sorry, my glasses were filthy. Yeah, no, still a real scary looking Kislev team. Still got a lot of tools. The AV bust on Happy Tugs is real sad. I think you look to recycle him moving forward. AV6 is
the good news is he's wrestle, so that like if there's ever both downs, at least you're not eating that armor break. But still, like if he's gonna get, anybody with Mighty Blow with half a brain is gonna target him really hard. The wrestle is like a saving grace that he's less likely to get injured, but still armor 6 is pretty serious.
And you're not too bad for fouling a. Like if you wrestle it to the ground, you're not really sad about fouling a 120.
Especially in his next game, because he's only going to have 11 players. Like he'll have 0 bench, so any removal is useful. So being able to even fouling an armor 6 is a pretty useful, pretty likely removal. So it's going to hurt next game, I think. Yep, he stays till he dies, or I have 4 wrestle linemen. So there you go. That's the call from Superfed himself. He's sticking around for now.
And then we have Sugar and Spikes, Weekend by Weeknight Wizard, another
Anything
orc
else
team.
new? No, the
And
grab
has a
is not
similar
new.
problem to the other one.
That's 16 SPP, but the grab is not new. I think so. I don't think there's anything else super new to talk about. No, I think I'll just reiterate that I think keeping the AV6 is probably fine if you want it because of the wrestle. So moving on, yes, Sugar and Spikes.
Same problem as the other orc team, which is to say that the blitzers are significantly taller than the black orcs. That said, there's kind of a lot more spread out, and you've got a lot of.
They're not in the order I expected. I was like, "What are you talking about? Those black orcs are great because they're block guard mighty blow, but those are the blitzers at the top."
I had the exact same reaction when I opened it. I was like, "Wow, these black orcs," but no. Really solid, really standard orc development in the sense that he went very
guard mighty blow, guard mighty blow, guard mighty blow, and then one going the killer blitzer route makes perfect sense. And then
it's got lots of kill, lots of support utility. It's kind of lacking in the strength 4 support utility, and then only 2 of the black orcs have.
The biggest liability to me is that Ginger is missing block, and he's so far behind in SPP because he's gonna stay behind in SPP. Like the last action you do every turn, if you even do it at all, is going to be the block with Ginger. So it's very unlikely that he picks up too many Kaz. So he's going to stay really far behind in SPP for a long time. So that's really unfortunate, and you're just basically praying for an MVP to pick up block on him so that he can catch up.
Yeah, or like giving him a cheeky touchdown and a vanity.
Yeah, but you're going to want to he's going to stay behind unless you focus on it, and I think it's important to focus on him.
That's the goal and a team with like this much like support skills and mighty blow can't expect to have a game or two a season where they do get to just pitch clear someone, and then the goal for that game
score on the black orc,
leveling.
Yes, and with 5 guard and 5 or 4 mighty blow, it's the only weakness really is that black orc taking forever to catch up. It's a really good team otherwise. Like 5 guard is great, 4 mighty blow or 3 mighty blow is great.
Anyway, I think Ginger is number 3 liability behind 1 tackle and has a troll.
If you have a troll, buy a goblin. Otherwise, there's no reason to have a troll.
I mean, the orc 1 turn.
Yes, but if you're going to have a troll, have a goblin. Otherwise, why even have a troll?
I mean, trolls are fine. It's just
no, not particularly. I mean, it's another guard, and it's another mighty blow that's available. Orc Thrower has got block and dodge, so he's a really reasonable ball carrier with the blodge, and then a couple line orcs, one with block. Especially since you have the troll, you have a bench of 2, and the troll is going on the line probably. Not necessarily, but probably. So it's probably worth it to try to pick up a dirty player on one of those linemen. I would focus on that for the next one who levels, I think.
Yep. I wouldn't hate stand firm, dodge, or tackle on Parsley, who has a pending level up.
I think I would go. I would. Dodge on a double, and I would take tackle otherwise because you only have 1, and it gives you another tackle piece. Is what my suggestion would be there. I think.
Yep. And then we have Yield Guard by Yayo.
It is an Nurgle team.
It's surprisingly won against Undead.
Let's see. Anything new? Potentially the Claw and Mighty Blow and those Nurgle Warriors are pretty new, which is good. The Tackle second is...
Yeah, I believe they had no Claw going into the...
Yeah, the Claw is really good. You want one. It's like to the point where some Nurgle players will go Mighty Blow Claw like before block even. Just to get it because you really need it as Nurgle. So having it is going to make a big difference, and he's going to accelerate his development pretty quickly. So it'll be pretty fast to get another guard or another tackle in there if you want. Tackle second on a Nurgle Warrior is weird, but if you really needed tackle, it's not unreasonable. Nurgle Warriors can get tackle, and they generally do. It's just likely to be their like 5th skill kind of thing. So it's hard. It's a little unfortunate to have to take that early, but if you had to, you had to. Dead, the Nurgle Warrior, is a rookie, which is unfortunate because the other ones are 2 or 3, so he's going to be a ways away from leveling.
Yeah, I believe he recently died. This is a replacement.
Pestigor picking up block on the Mighty Blow one, totally reasonable. The other options there would have been claw or tackle, depending on if you really wanted tackle. But having the Raj or the wrestle tackle, Pestigor, means you probably don't need to take tackle. And claw is certainly an option there if you want to go the greedy route. But if you want to go the more reliable route, block is certainly good. Wrestle Rotter, which is fine, and then dirty player kick Rotter, meaning that this is a thing that I've talked about a lot on previous streams. So I'm not going to go into it too in depth now. Watch my streams if you want my opinions on this. It's difficult sometimes to use kick on Rotters because it basically means you're guaranteeing that you have to put your Beast or a Nurgle Warrior on the line on defense to utilize it, especially since you only have 3 Rotters because Nurgle have so many positionals. So it can be kind of annoying to use that, but it's good because it gives you an option, right? If you can use it against elf teams and that kind of thing. But against killer teams, you probably want to just throw the Rotters on the line instead, and then you don't get to utilize the kick. But gives you an option, which is certainly useful. Anything else newish there? The wrestle on the Rotter is certainly new, I think, and that's good. You're either going to go dirty player or wrestle or block on the Rotters, depending on what you want them to do. And you've already got the dirty player, so I think wrestle is totally fine there. Stump Force and PDX Bosco. This is the Death Roller. The block Death Roller that is 2 SPP away from leveling. So good.
Love it. It's gonna get plus strength.
Strength 8 Death Roller.
Strength 8. If only you could get rid of Secret Weapon.
If only.
Yeah, no, really solid team. I mean, imagine you pick up Guard on the Death Roller. I can't
grab.
Think of another strength skill.
Multi-block actually isn't terrible because strength 7.
Yeah, strength 7 block. Multi-block is probably pretty good. I don't know if I take multi-block over Guard, but I guess Dwarves. I mean, this team.
It does need the Guard, but the Death Roller being a secret weapon and on the field for only 1 drive means that like you're kind of wasting its potential if its job is to sit there and just be a guard piece.
He does not currently have a bribe stadium, though he could buy one in 2010. And I would.
So yeah, like grab is probably good. Guard is probably good. I would probably go mighty blow or multi-block just because how multi-block how rare is it that you get a block Death Roller? I think I would just take multi-block because that's amazing and super fun, right?
I love how hideous the Death Roller is in this color combination.
It's so ugly, beautiful. But Death Rollers are great. Is there anything newish on this team? The runner is very close to leveling, the one that has block, kickoff, return, leader. Fend or pray for doubles basically are what your options are there.
Pray for doubles.
Well,
still don't love the dodge on the Troll Slayer. I think it's completely unnecessary.
Yeah, probably. The runner's interesting because you've dropped a reroll and picked up leader to save yourself some TV there. So normally you kind of do the 3 levels recycle type thing with Dwarven runners because there's only so many skills they want. But because you have leader and you have the 2 rerolls, you probably want to keep him around to make sure you have that reroll available. So he's not likely to get recycled anytime soon, I don't think. And I think that's fine. It just means that some of your skill choices might be suboptimal if you keep leveling him. So we'll see what happens there. I think Mighty Blow on this Blitzer is new, and I think that's great. You're going to get guard on all of the Longbeards. Blitzers are going to get like Mighty Blow guard or tackle. 1 guard, one Mighty Blow I think is good, especially since you're missing Mighty Blow on one of the Troll Slayers.
For sure. That's a good looking Dorf team. Bribe stadiums usually aren't good against any team that's fouling, simply because you're giving a bribe to your opponent, and if you're a foul-heavy team, it's usually because you have cheap fouling pieces, so the bribe is, largely speaking, lower value to you. Why it can be really nice for Dwarfs is obviously that you can keep the Death Roller around longer, but also you are AV9 Thick Skull, so fouling you is a lot less valuable than it is to foul most teams. So I think Manus is right in the sense that if there is a team that can best use a bribe stadium,
I would agree.
Death Roller Dwarves, simply because like other teams that have like secret weapons, for instance, rostered like goblins, get cheap bribes and usually get them through inducements anyway. So a 50k free bribe when you're giving your opponent a 100k free bribe isn't really worth it.
Mordheim Cryptors
I think,
and Dr.
that's right on the money.
Spagooters. Some injuries here as well. Niggled White, Niggled Zombie. Niggled White is rough, but he is Mighty Blow Strength, so he's probably worth keeping until he dies.
Yeah, and he's 1 level from guard, so
with a bench and with the fact that you're undead and you're likely to pick up free zombies anyway, the Niggled Zombie is probably not the worst thing in the world because the regen, they're just line fodder. But I mean, if you can afford, if you win your next game and are over 150k, just fire him and buy a new one. Just like there's no reason to have a niggled one over a regular one, but there's also no real reason to remove it necessarily if you don't like have spare money.
No, I think there is a reason. You just like, why would you carry it around? It's bloat for no value. You're never gonna put that in the LOS because it's just a free injury waiting to happen, and you've got 140k and try to ditch it.
Probably.
You even got a bench already. I love seeing all of Super Ventil players like existing as zombies and rotters. We've seen HD Love and Arcade Prime.
Let's see. Mummies are both. This mummy looks like he's leveled relatively recently. Picked up Stand Firm to go along with that block, which is certainly good. Maybe Guard might have been a better option, but block Stand Firm is really nice because he already has block. The Stand Firm gets a bit more value. People are less likely to uphill him with block, and now he's really, really hard to shift because of the block and the Stand Firm. Because the both down is not going to push him anywhere. Pushes aren't going to push him anywhere. Is very annoying to shift.
Yeah, and then you really want to accelerate his growth to get guard as well to get that extra annoying.
I think guard is almost always correct on mummies on undead, except since he has block. I think the Stand Firm has a lot more value than it would otherwise. Then we have a Tackle White, which is very close to leveling. He's probably gonna get Mighty Blow. Guard might be a good option, but since he's the tackle player, likely to be doing blitzing, Mighty Blow might be a good shout. Depends on what you think you need.
Yeah. Real solid team. The double guard ghouls, I think, are new.
And the movement on the Lodge Step ghoul, I think, is new as well, which is incredible. That's a
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say one turns.
Makes one turning possible, basically, for undead. Makes scoring a hell of a lot easier. Certainly, movement 8 between movement 7 and movement 8 is quite a significant jump in power. Not quite as big as the 8 to 9, but it's
9 to 10 is the biggest one. Oh, I think in terms of biggest, 2 to 3 is probably the biggest one. Followed by like 9 to 10 are probably the two, and then
6 to 7 is probably the most lackluster. Maybe 5 to 6.
Yeah, 5 to 6 is probably. I guess it's debatable. Movement is good. Moving on. The guard ghouls are great. The movement on that ghoul is great. It's an undead team with 4 ghouls, which you don't see incredibly often. But if you can have them all, then it certainly gives you the option to have a bigger bench, and you have like the wrestle piece, and you have the good movement one. So they're good ghouls, and the second guard is really good as well. So more guard would be nice. Mummy is gonna want guard. Those whites will probably get guard eventually, but they're going to be the blitzers for the most part, so tackle Mighty Blow first over guard is probably the way that you're going to go.
Yeah,
I agree with Manus is that it depends very strongly on what the average movement for the team is.
Yeah, I mean, we were just messing around, it turns out. I agree. That is straightforwardly true. In general, movement is very exciting on the fastest players on your team and sometimes exciting on the slowest ones. It really depends on how limited they are by the movement. Ogre team remains amazing. I love it. Agi 4 Ogre, Agi 3 Ogre, Agi 3 Strength 6 Ogre. What's not to love?
Injury has gotten guard recently, so he's block, break, tackle, guard, so he's a pretty good support Ogre, which is a weird thing that I never thought I'd ever say. Japanese Ogre is very close to leveling as well. He's got Stand Firm currently.
Same with left-facing fist.
We'll probably see either break, tackle, or guard from them, I think, unless you want another piling on Ogre for some reason, or you happen to roll another Strength or Agi. The grab on Def Down is new, I think. Yeah.
I believe it is. Yeah.
So that's a grab is another good one. I mean, it's essentially, I have only rolled normals and I don't know what else to take anymore on ogres because I mean, grab is certainly good, but when you only have strength access, there's only so many skills you can take, and like break tackle, juggernaut, that stuff is probably slightly more valuable. But the grab is good when you don't have any on the team. You can cancel out some skills and you can try to control the pitch a bit better, putting players stuck on your ogres. Especially since he's Agi 1, he's not going anywhere. He does have break tackle, but... and also new, I believe, is this Catch Noblar, having made an Agi or a Vanity Pass last game to the Agi 4 Ogre. Catch is really useful, because it's for basically one turn options, essentially, right? Gives you that free reroll on one portion of the one turn attempt, and there's a lot of things that can go wrong in a one turn attempt, and so having a little bit more there is useful.
Is throw teammate modified by strength or agi?
It's mod. That's a good question. I mean, it's a pass skill with a -1 on it, right? So I think the agi helps.
No, because
I don't actually know. That's never a thing that I've been in a situation for. I don't know if that makes a difference. It's a pass action with a penalty.
I don't think it's
Agi does not impact the throw.
I know it's modified by strong arm.
Agi does not impact the throw. It's modified by strong arm because strong arm is one of those weird skills like two heads where it's specifically +1 to a pass action.
Yeah.
So I think throw teammate is, according to Gypsy Prince, it does not.
Apparently, strong arm, accurate pass, and nerves of steel.
Because it's a pass action, so passes lets you get a reroll or a free reroll, and strong arm and accurate are both literally those weird +1 type skills rather than like a stat. Would be why they affect it. Yes, the catch is new because and it's useful for both one turns and for passing too. If you decide to pass with your Agi 4 ogre for whatever reason. But like, yeah, diving tackle, catch are sort of the only two skills that really ever matter for Noblars unless you happen to roll doubles, because they already have sidestep and dodge.
Yep.
I love this team.
And then we have Crypt Lords 2 Boogaloo by Redbeard. With his double Mighty Blow and now plus Agi Wolf.
It is. I think that's 31, yeah.
Is at level 3 or 4 level 4.
I don't think you give it up because it's really useful, but he's not going to be able to utilize that agi as much as like a ghoul would, for example.
Well, you kind of can, because so the problem you run into with Necro is you often will just do your LOS blocks with your flesh golems and your whites. They have Mighty Blow sometimes, that's great. Unless it's a team that puts a valuable piece on the LOS, you then want to blitz someone who is traditionally set up in a rule of, which means that on a failed knockdown on that frenzy blitz, because you want to use your Claw Mighty Blow, generally speaking, for your blitz. On a failed one, you're now based up against a werewolf, or your werewolf's now based, or even on a successful one, is now based on the player that is traditionally behind the target you want to blitz. So the Agi 4 can be nice simply by making those dodges out a 2+ instead of a 3+, and also you end up carrying somewhat often on werewolves.
I was gonna mention that it helps with the dodge out after a frenzy blitz thing, but for the most part, you're probably going to be carrying on that blodge strength 4 ghoul if given the option. So like you're gonna get a little bit less use out of it, like in terms of like the TV that it's adding to your team, than you would on like a ghoul or something, because most of the time you're going to be using it for dodging out. But it's very useful, but it's not like
it's more useful than it is for most plus agi blitzers.
Less useful than it is for most plus agi
still than like
carriers. Yeah, that's I guess that's kind of a better way of putting what I was trying to say.
Yep. Fishmail is 2 SPP away from guard, which is when flesh golems become incredibly annoying instead of just.
They become really incredibly annoying when they get dodged too.
Yes, well, that is true. Captain Sinkum, not to be confused with Captain Stabum, is a blodge guard white, and there's a block tackle guard white as well. So the whites are looking very strong. It's traditional in Necro. Do you see support whites?
Because the werewolves killing
Makes a lot of sense.
three SPP away for
Yep.
Synchum. Tackle or stand firm, both potentially good options there. You might consider adding another Mighty Blow if you want.
I would probably go Mighty Blow. It's nice to have some extra, particularly when
The
you're
only thing I
facing,
consider
like,
is you only
teams
have one
that,
tackle, so you might want another one somewhere. But it depends on like long term. Mighty Blow is probably better. If your next game is against Elves or something, you might consider tackle there. It's like tackle Lodge is potentially a little not that synergistic, but having tackle is good, especially when you only have one.
Yep.
I love
really nice looking
Captain
Necro
Boy
team.
Tom. Yeah,
Captain Boy Tom is
Sure
2
hands.
SPP away from leveling when he will probably
Or more
get
stats.
Sure hands.
or
Yeah, well, Agi is nice, but I think Sure Hands is fine, and then you could go sidestep. But I mean, at that point, yeah, like Manus is saying, you probably want to start handing off to other players. It's not hard for Necro to be in control enough of the pitch that they can kind of choose who they score on. So Cabin Boy Tom will probably stop being the priority scorer after the levels over time.
sure hands, sidestep, and then as many stats as you can get. Basically, are the only things he really cares about. So, but sure hands is the biggest one of those. Then we have the Bash and Lizzies and Glomar, who I very clearly need to stop predicting against.
Yeah, they just keep winning. There was a team like this in our last division as well. It was like underdeveloped Lizards who just kept pulling out wins. So yeah, as Lizards can do. This team is looking less sketchy than when we first started seeing it. The Dodge Saurus
Finally
has picked up
good.
block. He's got a block tackle, block guard, and a regular block. So there's only 2 unleveled Saurus, both of whom are very unleveled though at 2 and 0 SPP. One is brand new, or one has played 1 match, I should say. And the other is played 7 and gotten
Yeah,
a grand
those
total of
those 2
SPP.
guys.
Saurus are
Those 2
hard
guys need
to
block,
level.
and then you want some more guard. I think is the biggest deal. Maybe a break tackle potentially on one of them, but more guard is the biggest
Well,
thing.
you really would like a Mighty Blow as well. Like Lizards do need a bit of punching power, or else they can punch around pitch control teams all day, but they do like run into trouble. from
The
having
first
literally
Saurus there that I'm not gonna bother trying to pronounce, the 12 SPP one, can probably get Mighty Blow next. Tlaxitka has a good option for Mighty Blow as well, being the tackle piece, but he is 9 away. It depends if you feel like if you need it right now or not. I'd like, in the long run, you'd like Mighty Blow in the tackle, but the closest piece to getting it is the 12 one. I guess depending on how confident you feel, I'd probably go guard on the 12 and then Mighty Blow on the 23.
Nah, I've played more Lizards. I'd go Mighty Blow on Quack, and I would go break tackle on
Fair enough.
Classic.
And then the Blodge guy is 8 away, still a ways away, but guard is in his future as well as stand firm, I think.
Yep, 100% guard, and then stand firm. Kai of Tlax, probably stand firm. I wouldn't hate Mighty Blow either, but I think stand firm is the better choice. And then, yeah, really look to level Oxodal.
Nothing new
Tyra.
on the Skinks as
Also,
far
please
as
stop
I can
using
tell,
default.
but catch sidestep. Catch is fine, like 1 is fine. But and then the other sort of skink levels you'll see are catch and diving tackle. Although we've got the Agi one who has picked up sprint, which is probably pretty reasonable as well.
Yeah,
Sorry, I always get those two skills mixed up.
Usually you want to go Sure Feet before Sprint.
More reliable.
And Lizards is something I like, simply because you do have to do a lot of GFIs with Skinks. It does add a
And
layer
with
of which is nice. Sprint.
I was just going to say, with blockless Saurus and with no sure hands anywhere, you often have to dedicate rerolls to that. So not having to use rerolls on the GFIs that you make a lot is really nice.
Yep. It does mean that you do have to get your... So the nice thing about Sprint is that it can open up 1 turns that require 1 fewer push, which is significantly easier, of course. But yeah, I do generally speaking.
And Agi Force Skinks, great.
Lizards don't usually need the 1 turn; they can just do 1 grind, generally speaking. So yeah, it's a great piece. But yeah, you're really looking to get more source development. Skinks can take the.
And lastly, we have David Leclerc and All Bark No Bite. Took a bit of damage in his last couple games, but not anything super permanent on the really useful players. You've still got both War Dancers. One is out for a game, although he is a rookie one, having only played one match. So at least he's out, rather than the Agi movement tackle one, who is very good.
He is indeed.
And we lost that War Dancer. The new one is the replacement for the piling on Mighty Blow War Dancer, right? So that one is gone, it seems.
Yep. So the block on the tree is new.
I didn't see that yet. Oh, that's so good.
Quite amazing. 18 into 31. And he's saying the plus Agi is new. I think he means the plus Agi on Walnut. Yeah. So Walnut is now a stat freak officially, and is
oh man, he's such a good player. Like movement 9 is great for like 1 turns Agi, or even just for having like the ability to move wherever you want on the pitch. You can move from halfway across the pitch, leap in, sack, like dodge out with Agi 5, and still have movement left. Like that's incredible.
Yep, and he can also, if he's one turning, can leap over
defensive lines.
Backline.
Strip ball is probably in his future.
I wouldn't hate strip. If he rolls a double, I'd take Mighty Blow though over that. All in all, really.
And we have we've talked about that catcher before. He's a great catcher. That tree is amazing. Having picked up block on trees is so good. Strength 7 block. There, people will up any strength 6, but any really high strength big guy who is very valuable to the opponent by being on the floor, like fanatics or trees or whatever. Like if you knock over a fanatic, they're gone. If you knock over a tree, they have to roll to stand up. People will uphill you all day, every day, just to have that chance to remove the player for a turn or two. And having block is so good to prevent that. They just become so much more reliable, such a bigger anchor. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean it changes it from a 25% to an 11%, so it significantly increases the reliability of a player. Like obviously it's even better on trees because they start with stand firms. The fishing for the pushes isn't even going to work, so players are really like hoping for that 1 in 4. So yeah, very much a big improvement to trees. It's kind of a contested pick. You'll see sometimes people arguing for days about whether you take block or jump up on a tree double, simply because jump up also gets rid of the he's been knocked over, now what do I do problem.
Yeah, that's true, but I would prefer block, but I haven't really played Wood Elves. I've played halflings, and I would prefer block on halflings, a halfling tree over jump up, but that's often because trees are doing a lot of your punching. So block helps in that way too. Whereas with Wood Elves, you can potentially do a lot of your punching with War Dancers and stuff. So it's less critical that the trees have a reliable way to hit stuff. But I think it's good. Then there's a lot of stats on this team: strength lineman, Agi lineman, so much Agi 5 dodge. Is like there's a lot of good players. It's unfortunate that we lost that Palm War Dancer, because that's incredible. There's so many stats and good things on this team. All it's really missing is like another guard would probably be great, and a strip ball on a War Dancer would be like really what this elf team is looking for in the near future. 1 guard is great, but 2 is better.
For sure. I would like to see Hickory develop into wrestle.
Yeah, that would be good.
Tackle or strip as well, like turn them into a kind of a pseudo sack of themselves for when you kind of need that piece. It's nice to have a Rackle lineman, and Agi 5
be a good shout. And you're praying for doubles on that strength lineman, so you can grab like guard or something. Strength 4 guard would be so nice to have on a Wood Elf team. Mighty Blow might even be a good option if you wanted to go that way and just have a blitzer, but I think guard is probably more valuable.
Oh, I mean, sure. If you got guard on Ebony.
But yeah, that's hopes and dreams, hopes and dreams. So shall we do predictions for 7? I guess, because we're here. Old World Wardens and the Mordheim Crypt Horrors. So we have the slightly beaten up undead team of Tetsuya versus the where's the Crypt Horrors? Why can't I find them? Dr. Spagooter's undead 1550. So the more stats, but undead, and Tetsuya is slightly more struggling undead.
Probably gonna give this to Spagooters. He's just got the better setup currently. Tetsuya is also missing a mummy,
He's
right?
I don't no, he's not,
No,
but
he's
it's
not.
no, he's not.
He's got no functional whites though, or no functional ghouls, I should say. One's got a
Oh.
niggle, which should probably be fired. He can buy it.
He does get some inducements.
The armor 8 mummy is going to be a huge liability here because other undead can obviously smack mummies more reliably than most teams.
He's gonna get 190k, so he does have, you know, wizard, but that's not like super useful without any ghouls. So I think I will probably give this one to Dr. Spagooters. Sorry, Tetsuya, you were my champion in college. I predicted you from the beginning, but I think that this one is, you're at a bit of a disadvantage in the coming game. One Punch Ogre versus Stump Force. Oh my god, we're watching this game next week. I don't care. This is the Death Roller Dwarves and the Ogres. Am I wrong about that? I'm not wrong. This is the Death Roller.
Well, no, we're 100% watching
next week. Come back. We're watching Death Roller Dwarves versus Ogres. I don't care what any of you do. That's the game we're watching next week from this division.
I already went.
I pick Ogres.
I know what you're picking. Yield Guard.
Oh man, I'm so excited for that. I'm so excited for that game.
This is Nurgle versus Yield Guard.
It's the Nurgle. It's Cryptlords 2, right? Is the Necro.
Oh yeah, sorry. Cryptlords 2 is the Necro. So Necro versus Nurgle can be kind of tough.
It can be kind of tough for the Nurgle when there are 2 Claw Mighty Blow, and there isn't very much for the Nurgle in the ways of that.
It's true.
The Beast of Nurgle can do good things against ghouls, but you have to specifically get them on the ghouls, and that can be hard sometimes.
What the good news for the Nurgle in this case is that it's a Nurgle team that prioritized reliability and pitch control over straight kill right away, so they're actually looking pretty solid. They've got most of their players with block or wrestle. They've got a good amount of mighty blow. They've got sure hands, extra arm. Like they're going to be way more reliable than most Nurgle are at 14 or 16 TP, I should say. And
but they're going to be
do outguard them a little bit. I think.
They're the same on guard, but the Necro are faster, and the Necro have more removal potential, and the Necro have that crazy ball carrier that the Nurgle might actually have a relatively difficult time dealing with because it's sure hands, blodge, strength 4. There is the one wrestle tackle Pestigore, but that's like their only option for getting rid of the ball, and even then it's a 1 die without any assists.
I mean, Nurgle don't usually go for like 1 dice on balls.
Well, no, but I'm saying that they're only going to get 1 dice. If they...
who knows how the game will play out. What do you think? Nurgle or Necro?
I think Necro probably, but that's because, you know, being a Nurgle player, I don't like high movement teams, and sometimes werewolves can get away from you, but that may be because I'm bad more than anything else.
Cool, I'm going to predict Nurgle, but I think you're actually probably right.
Sugar and Spikes and the Bash and Lizzies, so we've got...
Orcs versus Lizards. Traditionally a tough matchup for Lizards. Orcs can stand toe-to-toe and have usually more development in the guard department. So this is the kind of boring but good Orcs that have a ton, like lots of guard, mighty blow, blitzers, and kind of like a little lackluster development
and
on the Black Orcs themselves, which can be a problem with versus Glomar, who is at the top. Oh, this is
this is probably a pretty interesting match with Glomar being 4-0-0.
So we're gonna skip the double like top leaderboard header to watch.
No, the leaderboard is Rats against Teen Stars and Bash and Lizzies. The Orcs are 8th.
Oh,
I'm gonna go with. I think I'm gonna go with Lizards on this one. I mean, traditionally, potentially a tough match for Lizards, but I've predicted Glomar to not do well in the last like 4 weeks, and I've been wrong every time. So I think it's time to give him some props for doing well. And this is the week that he loses because you've been cursed by me.
It
is tough.
My heart says
The guard on the orcs is certainly useful. The big thing for me that I think that makes the biggest difference though is that most of the guard is on blitzers, rather than black orcs. If that was for block guard black orcs, I would give this to orcs probably, because you have the strength to match up to the lizards, and they also have the block and guard. But since most of the guard is on blitzers rather than the black orcs, it's a bit easier for the Saurus to push the guard out of the way, because they're going to get 2 dies pretty easily with the strength 4 of the Saurus.
Well, they're like significantly outguarded, which is my only concern. I think I'm actually going to go orcs. Let's keep this contentious pickup. One of us
sure.
is going to win.
Why not? At some point. Reality Kings and All Bark No Bite. So we have Superfeds, Captain Stabinless, and Strip Ballless Kislev, versus the... Why can't I find them? Ooh, the Wood Elves of David.
Kislev should be well paired against Wizards, or against Wood Elves rather, but they did just lose their killer for the week, which is
yeah. So they're missing their only Mighty Blow tackle. They have their only tackle in general.
Their only Mighty Blow and their only Mighty Blow and their only tackle. That's really
and
tough.
they'll have no bench, but it doesn't really matter so much with the Wood Elves Mighty Blow being gone. I feel like this is going to be a weird game. Like, I feel like this is going to be the type of game that you see that's like 3-2 or something dumb, right? Because both teams are just going to like run it in repeatedly, because that's how sort of Superfed plays, and and that's, you know, sort of how the Wood Elves are going to aim to play this. I think this is going to be like a 3-2 game. I would not be surprised.
So who's the
That's a good
3
question.
then?
Let's
11:30 your time.
It is.
We've been extra
we also
slow
started a
tonight,
bit late,
somehow.
I think, because I was playing Path of Exile. 7-8. So the Wood Elves get another 140k, which was at 1450. So they get my heart says Superfed and my brain says the Wood Elves. So I think I'm gonna go with the Wood Elves, because they get though they're gonna get a wizard, and they can take advantage of that pretty well. They have like a pretty significant stat advantage, and the lack of tackle on Superfed's side means that he's gonna have a hard time going up against Wood Elves. And although, never mind, diving tackle is a thing that exists. This is really hard. I don't know.
I don't know. We watched Kislev play Dark Elves, and I think diving tackle fired.
That's a good point. I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Wizard is in the stadium, apparently. Oh, yes, because Kislev have a magician shop, and it is the arcade.
This is really hard.
Everyone gets... Pick when it's late and I want to sleep.
I don't know. This is really hard. What else? Sorry, Superfed. I think the tackle is going to be hard, and I think he's going to probably like out agi potentially you. But you're both really. It could go either way really easily.
I continue to predict the left-hand side.
Fair enough. Rats against Team Stars and Salty Chips. We've got Razzlestorm, and we've got Angry and the Dark Elves. So we've got the Claw Mighty Blow, Horns, Storm Vermin is going to do work. Strip Ball is going to do work against the Dark Elves who don't have any sure hands anywhere. The Dark Elves are going to be sad that they're missing out on a decent amount of tackle / like punchy skills. Here they only have 1, and he's armor 7, and probably going to get punched.
You're actually missing like some of the bigger ones, like Moms Bang Teens and Teens Love Huge. And also We Live Together. Yeah, you're missing actually like some of the bigger sites.
Oh, I see.
You asked like what the relevant subsites. There's actually like a new one coming out, but I'm not allowed to talk about that.
Oh, you secret porn, everybody! Secret porn.
Is there Teens Love Huge? Oh yeah, Teens Love Huge Clocks. It's a pretty good one.
So what do you think? I think I want to give this to the Rats, partially based on their record and partially based on because I think that they have like the tools to deal with these Dark Elves pretty well, with like this the strip ball and the mighty blow column.
I think I was looking at the Reality Kings website and not at these teams.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah, in general, I think that Rats have a pretty decent matchup against Dark Elves that don't have kill skills like these ones. Like, they just haven't rolled the doubles for Mighty Blow, which are really essential for, like, upping the Dark Elf punch game. I think the Rats have to watch out for the Spicy Chip, but other than that, are in a pretty good position. They can outrange Chip, the Agi 6 lineman. Like, Agi 6 can get anywhere, but he's only movement 6, so it's pretty easy for Rats to keep him.
And then we have the Horn Stars and the Squeaky Blinders. There's going to be a lot of inducements for the Skaven, but I think the Chaos don't care that much. They have a decent amount of tackle, and they have a good amount of...
You should always care about Rats.
Fair enough, but the Chaos have a good amount of Mighty Blow. They have a good amount of tackle. They have like a Mighty Blow piling on tackle, which is going to be pretty significant. And they have Sure Hands, which is the biggest thing, really, because it's going to, make it very difficult for two of those gutter runners to do their job. And if the Storm Vermin had Claw somewhere and had a better chance of removing more players to keep the game even, I would go with probably I would put it more in the Rats' favor. But I think, especially with one of the Storm Vermin being down, this is probably going to be a Chaos win.
Yeah, it's going to be a really tough game. Not a lot they can really do about the Chaos's tools. The Chaos do have a lot of wasted TV in Claw, but not enough.
We have to, and we'll move on to 6. And the game that there's another game we missed, right? It was, right, the draw between Rumblebee and Common Nightmares. That was the game that we missed. That occurred. It was 1-1.
Never speak of it again.
4 KOs, 1 KO, 1 casualty, a ton of blocks on both sides, but no removals. Whatever. It was a game that occurred. Secret marketing. So now we have predictions to do. So we have Common Nightmares versus... Sure. Common Nightmares versus With a Rebel Yell. So we have Harry Koo's Necromantic that we've already looked at. And we have With a Rebel Yell, the most used joke in Rebel history.
Can't shit on him every
Fair enough.
week for that.
It's Undead versus Necro.
Hey, look, Necro win. No, actually, this is the Necro team with kind of underdeveloped.
It is, and it's they're two really good sort of punchy whites, and it's also the block guard stand firm mummy, which is pretty useful. And if there aren't the werewolves to try to like actually remove that, those mummies are going to be really, really useful. The Necro outguard the Undead, surprisingly. By a bit. Undead have some stats to keep up with it, though.
So the Necro definitely have the punch game in terms of Mighty Blow. I don't think the Necro have any. No, the Necro have 1. This is going to be a game of who rolls better.
But who rolls better Mighty Blow, armor breaks, who rolls better regen rolls. I think I want to, if that's the case, I think I want to give it to the Undead, because they have that little bit more Mighty Blow, to give them the slight advantage in the removal game.
Not a little bit.
Several more Mighty Blow.
4 Mighty Blow. Yeah, 4 Mighty Blow compared to 1, and they have
Wood United versus 3 Cash, 3 Crew, Revengeing. We've got the Wood Elves that are going to be missing a lineman, but they've still got like a good lineman, one of the guard, but they still have some good war dancers, good tree, that kind of thing. Versus JJ Cash's human team. We'll be missing a good blitzer, the Agi Mighty Blow one. The Mighty Blow will be sorely missed against Elves because he will have 0, or no, he'll have 1 blitzer in the Ogre, but Ogre is not exactly going to be hitting too many Elves, I don't think. Similar TVs, I think. 1640 versus 1760, 120. the sidestep diving tackle block catchers are going to be pretty clutch, I think, against the Wood Elves. They can lock down players pretty well, and the Agi 5 leap blitzer is surprisingly potentially pretty useful.
Normally I like to give this to humans, though. Yeah, that is an important blitzer to be down. But I think I still want to give it
the same. I think if maybe like I actually think the fact that that movement 8 guard piece is out for the Wood Elves makes a pretty significant difference. Having a second guard.
But he's still got a tackle. He's still got a mighty blow, and he's got 3 diving tackle. One of which is Agi 4 tackle as well. So I think.
And the Wood Elves don't actually get that many inducements because they're down a player, so they'll be at 1730, and the humans are at 1760. So no bench and not many inducements. 1 or 2 removals makes this pretty solidly in a human favor, I think. So we'll stick with humans. Thanks Nemo. Have a good night as well. First and Forsaken Lions versus Orcsploitation Cinema. So we've got.
Oh god, he had Necro, or Chorf Orc.
Yep, sorry RK. Like, this is not your season so far in terms of matchups.
Hey look, it's that gross it's that gross Orc team that has all of the guard and mighty blow and the strength 5 thing. Do the High Elves even have short hands?
You don't really get it ever on the High Elves. Yeah. The High Elves have a lot of TV and dodge. There's like 4 tackle on the Orc team, and one of them is tackle mighty blow piling on. Yeah, sorry RK, but it's like your 4th bash matchup in a row.
Good news is he's gonna get some inducements at least. He could pick up a wizard and maybe an extra Apo to try to like minimize damage while like giving himself a chance.
And he gets Necro after that.
Necro are less brutal. Like High Elves are really, really vulnerable to like Mighty Blow spam and Claw Mighty Blow spam teams. Like Necro are a bit more surgical usually in their removal potential, so it's not quite.
In
as
2
bad,
weeks he gets Skaven,
definitely.
which is like finally for him.
Depends on which Skaven team. I guess does this one only have one? It does, yeah. This one.
Then we have Greenskin Brawlers and the Hausdorff Homewreckers. So we're gonna get
Orcs versus
and it's top of the table Orcs versus mid-table Chorfs. There are 1840 Chorfs that have the 2 Claw Mighty Blow piling on, but a lot of sort of agi busts, which are mostly irrelevant, and a absolute shitload of guard.
Yeah, this is a Chorf team that should pick this Orc team apart,
like really. It's a lot of the Orc players are a little negated. The Blitzer, the Mighty Blow piling on tackle pro Blitzer isn't really going to do a whole lot. The Strength Blitzer and the Guard Stand Firm Blitzer, like the dodge isn't useful, but the Stand Firm and Guard is certainly useful. The biggest thing they have going for them is the fact that you have 4 Strength 4 players and 2 of them are Block Guard. However, if the Chorfs are surgical with their claw hits, they can potentially remove those, and if you go down a Black Orc in this game, you'll probably lose. Like, that's basically how it is if you want to win this game, you're going to need to aggressively Apo Black Orcs, and that sucks because you're probably going to have a player die if that's the case.
Yeah, and you've got no real good LOS. Like, your LOS is going to have to be 2 linemen and your dirty player wrestle piece. So yeah, it's going to be a tough game. I'm gonna have to.
I think I am too. It's hard. It's a hard matchup. It's not impossible. You're just gonna have to be really careful. It's a tough situation because you really need those Black Orcs alive to win. But the role the Black Orcs are going to be playing are going to be tying up Chorfs, in which case they get punched. So like you have to play aggressive with them, but you also need to try to make sure they stay on the pitch. It's a really hard situation to be in. Boss Hog Outlaws and Scaled Measures. So we've got not Nilox Lizards with a bajillion D stat ups, and we have the
Vulpes's Chorf team.
So this is Vulpes's Chorf team is 2nd currently. There's no
this is a Chorf team that should have a lot of problems.
Yeah, it's surprisingly there's no this Chorf team doesn't have any of the Claw Mighty Blow sort of action, and if they've got 3 guard, which is some, but it's not a lot when the lizard team is has so many stat ups. Thankfully, they'll be missing one of the strength ups, Sauruses. 8. They only have 8 players too. Three more is 100, 180, so they're going to be at 18, 10 versus and the Chorfs get inducements. It's not easy. I think I want to go Chorfs because the lizards are going to be down a Saurus and they don't have a way of getting another one. And
I will also go Chorfs because I have to back Vulpes.
Fair enough.
His
and another Bloody Bell and the Wayside Warmongers. So we've got the Skaven of Grey Wesker, and we have
Phil's terribly
bad. 11. They're going to be missing their thrower, right?
They're missing 2 blitzers.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So they'll be another 100k. So they'll be at 1280 versus 1230. But they probably get players too. This is complicated. 1, 2, 3, 10, 12, 1280 versus 1280. Exactly. So no inducements.
Two semi-battered teams. I think the humans are going to have a tough time here. They have no
not with that thrower out. So that's the Skaven are going to be able to outspeed the humans and probably steal the ball pretty quickly.
Yeah, they have 1 mighty blow, 1 tackle, 1 piling on. So it's really all on Wilbert Wonder.
I was going to say if Wilbert Wonder does work, that's a hard thing to say. He will. The humans have a really good chance at this. Oh, the humans get they're up 30k because of money, so they could scum a babe if they want, which might be useful against the Storm Vermin. But if Wilbert Wonder does work, the humans can win this pretty well, and he's going to be able to do work with Frenzy, Mighty Blow, piling on, tackle. Like, he's got all the skills he needs to hurt Skaven, and there's no bench for the Skaven, but it's really relying on him to do work.
There's no bench for the humans. If they can get,
I think Skaven win this, but like the game plan for humans is to rely on Wilbert Wonder really hard, and if he does work, and he has a chance at winning this. But other than that, I think if he doesn't, like on average, I think the Skaven take it.
Agreed.
Starry Fight and Snake Kitties.
Then we have the people who aren't.
Well, one of them is Rumblebee.
Yeah. The one person who isn't.
So Rumblebee will be at 1440, and the Snake Kitties are at 1340. I think they don't get anything else. Oh, they do. 1, 2, 3. We'll get another. Skinks are 60, right?
They get 2 skinks, so they're 120. So they're
they're dead even again. With this, how much guard does Rumblebee have? 1, 2, 3 for this game? Isn't actually that much.
No, I mean, I think even like removing Rumblebee from the equation, I would probably say that the lizards have the edge here slightly. Hard for them to deal with the strength of the Saurus. The good news for them is that there are targetable Saurus. The block tackle is AV busted, and Toyota is blockless and niggled. So if you can get good hits on Pancake and Toyota, you can potentially swing the numbers advantage even more seriously in your favor because he's already down.
And dwarfs are skink murdering machines if they can get a hold of them, but it's pretty hard for them to get a hold of them.
The big ass.
I think the Agi 4 skink is probably going to do quite a bit of work here. If he's going to be a really important piece, and because Rumblebee has a few less guard, I think I want to go with the lizards. If Rumblebee had like 2 or 3 more guard, and I would go Rumblebee, or if that Agi 4 skink didn't exist, I'd probably go Rumblebee. But since both of those things are true, I'm going to have to go with lizards.
Because we don't have a contested pick this week, and because I'm a glutton for punishment,
excellent.
I'll pick Rumblebee.
All right, let's bring up the dual title screen. That is going to be us for this week. It was probably a bit longer than it was supposed to be, but oh well, it happens.
I am
Sure am.
boy.
So let's see. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next week, we will be taking a look at a couple of games. The one from Div 7 that we're going to watch is 100% Ogres versus Dwarves. I don't care what else happens. I don't care if the game looks super boring like 0-0. I am watching it. So don't bother submitting your games or replays or whatever from Div 7. I don't care. I'm watching the Ogres versus Dwarves.
Way to disincentivize any interaction with their stream.
But for serious, if your game is scheduled and you want us to take a look at them, feel free to PM me on Discord or whatever when your games are scheduled for, and if I can stream it, I will, as per usual. I would like to watch your games live, and I can stream them live and stuff. But the one for next stream Div review will be the Dorf versus Ogres. But for Div 6, any of you in Div 6, if your game was particularly interesting, feel free to poke one of us and let us know, whether it be funny or a good example of play or a very high-scoring game or something weird happened. Feel free to let us know, and we can have that be our game for Div 6. Otherwise, we will pick semi-randomly depending on what teams that we have looked at so far and what teams we have not looked at so far. For the most part,
Whimsy.
Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. Really appreciate it. I know it was long, but it's a good time, and I hope you guys had a good time as well. We will see you next Tuesday. If you like me and want to see my other things, then you've heard me say what I'm going to be doing over the next couple days. So until next time, I've been Steakmittens, and we will see you next week.